Wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Hi, Bullhorn Betty. Thank you for my shirt. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Kids Club.
Once the new evidence came to light, Sheriff Gaylor was adamant that we needed to inform our community as soon as possible.
These were just a few words that the chief of police said at a press conference related to Rachel Morin, which went missing August 5th. However, she was found a day later, bludgeoned to death. Rachel Morin, mother of 5, often found comfort in being outdoors and working out. This was no different August 5th, around 6 p.m. when she went to the Maupassant Heritage Trail in Bel Air, Maryland. Nobody really knows what happened on that trail, but whatever it is, it was really horrible. A teenage girl found her body the next day during search efforts. The horrific scene only can be what is left to imagination.
Her death has grabbed local, state, national, and international headlines.
DNA was located at the scene of the crime.
DNA evidence is part of nearly every modern-day investigation, and in Rachel's case, DNA evidence was collected by our Forensic Services Unit. This DNA evidence has come back as a match, tied to a home invasion and an assault of a young girl in Los Angeles this past March.
This is the first time that we heard of an assailant associated with her case.
Unfortunately, that suspect has not been positively identified, but he did leave behind his DNA. In the video we obtained from the Los Angeles Police Department to be the person that murdered Rachel Morin on August 5th.
Rachel, mother of 5, died a brutal death. Can you help?
And the tip line number is 410-836-7788.
Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Well, good morning, my beautiful people of YouTube and X. This beautiful morning, we're running on 3 different channels. It's nice to see everybody this morning. The first to say good morning is TL. Well, good morning, beautiful. I hope you're doing well. I can't help but, what did this say? I can't help but to think I still need to get a person who threw the towel. I agree. We're going to go over all that. We're going to open up the phone lines. We're going to talk about some of this stuff because I have to agree with you. I feel like there's more. I feel like the public was duped with the probable cause affidavit. I really do. We're going to go over it all. But before we do, let's say good morning. It's nice to see you, Love Bug. Skittles Crime Show? True Crime? What are you doing to us? You're confusing us, Skittles. You're confusing us. Good morning, love. Good morning. Manic Mama T is up in the house. It's nice to see you, Love Bug. I hope everything's going well for you. Darcy is up in the house this morning. Good morning, Speculation Station. Were you up last night late? Like, where do you guys get the time? I was up late last night. I don't think I went to bed until like 10:30 or something like that. It was crazy. I don't stay up that late at all. But what had happened, and I was researching, and then all of a sudden I wake up at 7 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I must have dozed off. I look at the time. I must have dozed off for like 45 minutes, but it was enough to get me enough wind in my sail to take me to like 10:30. Good morning. Good morning. Who else do we have in the house? Elsie, good morning, love. Bullhorn Betty's here if you haven't noticed. Nice, bright and early. Which reminds me, I think we're going to move tomorrow's live to 7:30 in the morning. So anybody's coming live, 7:30 in the morning, Saturday morning, we will be going live. We're not going to go live at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow for all you guys saying, oh, hallelujah, right? My ride or dies up in here, getting up, scraping out the crust of your eyes. Good morning, Crystal Lynn, November Rain. It's nice to see you. The real me too. Real me too got some things right. I gotta tell you. We gotta give you a nice little cheer. Hold on here. You guys hear that? I don't know how well my volume is. I'm trying to adjust the volume just a little bit behind the scenes. TL, I think I said good morning. Sweet Misery, beautiful Sweet Misery. Thank you, by the way, for the affidavit. But I was talking to Sweet. Like she sent me the affidavit yesterday, and I thank God because I had done 3. She's reached out to me. She's like, "Have you seen the affidavit yet?" I'm like, "No, I haven't even had time to order." I just got off the 3rd live yesterday, and I'm like, man, I'm just like, I felt so emotionally bankrupt yesterday. I'm just like, geez, Louise, I'm exhausted. Like, it just took everything out of me yesterday. That was an emotional day yesterday. I have to be honest with you. It was pretty stinking emotional. And it just, anyways, I think we'll go through that. And I think what was my comment to you? My comment to you was like, well, this didn't really help. And it was like, well, I mean, it clarified a couple things. But, we were expecting like a Brian Koberger affidavit, something that explained, like I was almost more confused by the time the affidavit was read. And I've got it right here. I mean, we've got the whole entire affidavit. I don't know about this. Like, I'm sure they're doing everything right. I'm sure it's going to stick and stuff, but damn, just nothing. There's nothing in it. I mean, there's just nothing. But we'll go over. The Real Me Too did get a lot right on this. a lot of the stuff that, because I was looking at all the information and I'm trying to make pieces. Some of the stuff just didn't go. Some of the stuff must have been something else or related to something else. Baby girl, it's nice to see you. Nani, it's nice to see you. Hindsight, good morning, love. It's nice to see you as well. We got a dealer up in the house, but we say no to drugs, but we say yes to hugs. Our hugs dealer, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Our beautiful lady 7 Up is up in the house. Cool Gamer saying, hey. It's nice to see you, Cool Gamer. Michelle Lynn, good morning. Good morning. Did you BHBB? Because I got the extra beat. That's why. That's why. We'll take the extra B. We'll take the extra B. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday. By the way, Bayou Babe sneaking in. Second Thesis sneaking in too. By the way, TGIF, guys. TGIF. Yeah, you guys survived the week after Christmas. I don't know how you did it. I really don't. Well, we're in the true crime, so some people just didn't. I mean, it's a horrible little joke, but no pun intended. Speculation station. Well, God bless you. I don't know. We're a little cray-cray over here, okay? We're just a little cray-cray over here. Do you really want to be part of this crazy group? Cat in the chat. Wait a second. We don't say no to weed, or at least I don't. Well, to each their own. To each their own. I stay out of it. My addictions are called nicotine and caffeine. If it has an "ine" at the end, it's probably for me. Just saying, right? Just saying. Before we get started, I do have the language of letting go. I need to read that because I keep forgetting. What it is I'm running out of room on my desk. So all my papers and stuff that I'm going on goes on top of the book. And then I start working. We start talking and I forget to get back to the book. So here's January 5th. I cannot believe January 5th is here. But hey, it is, okay? Whether we want it or not, it's here, okay? The 2024 is here, okay? It's like the cartel in Manatee County. Whether we like it or not, it's here. It's here. And I know bad jokes, right? Bad jokes. Okay. So this is move when it's time. I think a lot of people have this. We're always sitting back and wanting to know, do we go now? Do we make this decision now? Do we hold it? Do we wait? Do we, we got to learn to hold them and when to fold them. Good morning, Crime Stories Obsessed. It's nice to see you, Love Bug. You're doing great, by the way. I love your content. I love it. If you guys haven't gone over to Crime Stories Obsessed, get on over there and check her out. She's been doing some good videos. This is for move when it's time. When our touring the ruins of Hoovenweep National Monument in the southwestern United States, a sign along the interpretive trail told the Anazanis, I don't know who they are, who had lived along the small, narrow canyon so long ago. The archaeologists have done their best to determine what these ancient Indians did and how they lived their lives. The signs told us about the strategic positioning of the buildings perched precautiously on the edge of the cliff, and the question what had caused this ancient group to suddenly disappear long ago. Maybe they just got tired of living there and moved, my friend said. We laughed as we pictured a group of wise ancients sitting around a campfire one night. Says one of them, I'm tired of the desert. Let's move to the beach. And in our story, they did. No mystery, no aliens taking them away. They just moved, much like we do today. It's easy to romanticize what we don't know. It's easy to assume that someone else must have a greater version, a nobler purpose than just going to work, having a family, and living a life. People are people and have been throughout time. Our problems aren't new or unique. The secret of happiness is the same as it always has been. If you are unhappy with where you are, don't be there. Yes, you may be here now. You may be learning a hard lesson today, but there is no need or no reason to stay there. If it hurts to touch the stove, don't touch it. If you want to be someplace else, move. If you want to chase a dream, then do it. Learn your lessons where you are, but don't close off your ability to move and learn new lessons someplace else. Are you happy with the path you're on? If not, maybe it's time to choose a new one. There need to be no great mystery, no mysterious reasons. Sometimes it's just hot and dry and the beach is calling your name. But where do you want to be? God, give me the courage to find my path with heart. Help me move when it's my time. So I guess we could learn a lot from that. I think it has a subliminal message. It has a literal message too. Basically, if you're unhappy, the only person that can change your position and move you along a better path is you. If you're waiting for that pivotal moment that's just going to come and say, "Oh, you have arrived," right? You are going to be, right? You're going to be disappointed. So I'm not going to get into what you need to learn out of that lesson. I know what it means for me. And it means it means, hey, if I'm not liking what's going on, I have all the power and the ability to do what I need to do to move on when it's my time to move on. So let's just go on and jump right on in. Many of you guys know the Maya case. This is a girl that had an illness. It's a really, really sad case. I didn't dive into it on this channel. I know a little bit about it. I haven't invested a whole lot of time into the details of the case. So I'll just give you guys the Reader's Digest version as I understand it. If some details are inaccurate, you'll have to find those, do your own research. For this, I don't know much about it, I'll be honest. Good morning, Bubble Bath. Second Thesis, it's nice to see you. Maya was a little girl that had some medical issues, and they had been trying to resolve these issues for some time. I can't recall the specific issues she had, but the hospitals believed her parents were abusing her, and they were not. And they were very worried, sick about their baby. I call her a baby. She's not a baby. She's a girl, and this was all going on. She was preteen to teen or something like that. She was young. And she still is young to me. I consider anybody 25 or younger a kid, right? A baby. So either way, she went to court. Her mother ended up offing herself. She couldn't deal with being separated from her daughter. She was being just grilled by law enforcement. She was having all these orders that this hospital was literally taking over this child's life and kicking the entire family out, is basically my understanding of it. And they were treating Maya like a guinea pig. They were torturing this little girl in that hospital, thinking they knew better than everybody else. They wouldn't listen to anybody, because they had it in their freaking mind that she was being abused, and they had it, and they were like a dog on a freaking bone and would not let it go. And it lost this girl, her mother. She was 9, preteen, 9, adolescent. I guess preteen would probably be 10, over 10, adolescent. So you got a 9-year-old girl going through such a horrific event, then being ripped away from her parents. Now, mind you, this is a girl that never dealt with abuse. She literally had a medical situation. But hey, doctors know better, right? Doctors know better. Infiltrating. This is why you do not allow anybody to have carte blanche rights over any individual. This is why we have our personal liberties and our personal freedoms. And sometimes there is overreaching by our government, by our courts, and by our medical practitioners. I'm sorry, there is. I've seen it myself. This is not the first time. This is one of the most egregious cases I've ever seen. I will be honest with you on that. But don't think this does not happen on a daily. It does. And to me, it does not need to. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to do with my child. I don't care what you think is right for my child or not. You did not give birth to that child. You did not create that child. That child is mine. Keep your mother, hands off my child. My child's my child. Government, beware. And so this was very upsetting to me to hear that not only did were they able to prevent these parents from having contact with their daughter, they were able to utilize the courts to prevent the parents from even being able to see their child, using law enforcement, courts, and everything. To me, that was an abuse of power It was an abusive process. I don't care. Nobody would listen to this family because you had professionals up there telling these people this child was being abused when she was not. We put entirely too much trust in sometimes in our professionals when we need to find the truth. And this is a case that I think emboldens that. We have to quit putting all of our eggs in one basket. This was a case where this family was literally screaming from the rooftops and nobody would listen. So I'm not going to go into in too much more. I want you to hear this ruling. It sounds like the ruling went into the favor of Maya. Again, I did not watch it. I'm just assuming that based upon this um, report, because it sounds like the hospital is appealing the ruling or appealing the jury. So it sounds like the hospital didn't win, which they shouldn't have. I'm sorry. I felt like when I read this case, I'm like, how can they possibly be able to do that? How can they possibly be able to do that? So without further ado, I'm just going to throw this on up here. You guys can watch a little bit about it. But this case,
attorneys for Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital demanded a new trial, alleging juror misconduct and bias. They say a juror violated court rules by discussing the case with others during the trial and failed to disclose certain information on his questionnaire. Well, today the judge pressed the juror in question on the stand about these allegations and ultimately ruled the hospital's attorney failed to prove juror misconduct. Fox 13's Jordan Bowen has been looking into this for us tonight, joins us in our newsroom. Hi there, Jordan. I know this is a rare opportunity here for a juror like this, well, after the trial, to be called in. What more did you find out?
And this is kind of interesting because we're going to be hearing, as we watch more and more trials, we're going to be watching these things as they, as they're decided on, right? Decided on the facts of the case. Once they are decided on, then we see these appellate processes. And many of us, typically here in the true crime genre, we follow the cases up until the arrest. And sometimes, we follow like Brian Koper, we've been following like literally the case from the start, from when we heard about the case all the way up to his arrest, all the way through all this entire trial process. We're keeping everybody up to date on new, on court hearings, on, literally from start to finish. But typically, in most of these cases, we don't. As soon as they're arrested and they start going through the criminal process, we move on to typically another case. And then occasionally we'll come back and watch the trial. Well, in a lot of these end with either, we know that somebody's either going to win or lose. That's how these things work. There's really, unless it's settled outside of court, there is a winner and there's a loser. There's somebody that succeeds in these court hearings, more so than others. Sometimes it's a wash. I get it, but in more so than not, there's always a winner or a loser. Somebody, the plaintiff either wins their case or they don't. And we never see the appellate process. We never follow the cases. I can promise you, we barely follow them to the trial. But we definitely, after the conviction, never really follow them to the appellate process. We are doing that with Alec Murdaugh. Alec Murdaugh is probably one of the first appellate processes we're going to probably see on this channel. And it's because we've been following this case for a very long time. So I'm curious, this is the first time we're kind of getting an eyeball into an appellate process. And this, even though the hospital didn't like the verdict of the jury, they went to the appeals process, and guess what? The appellate court said, "Hey, we don't like your arguments. You didn't show us how they screwed this up, how they abused, how the jury was wrong or violated the process in any way. They didn't meet their burden." And now, whatever the settlement is, they're most likely going to be on the hook for it. And I'm sorry, the hospital. You know what? When you start knowing better and you're refusing to listen to reason, not only that, but this was a clear, it was so blatantly clear that they were overstepping. It was disgusting because even I think it was a doctor or two actually reached out to the hospital to tell them of Maya's diagnosis. And the hospital refused to listen because they were so adamant this lady had Munchausen's by proxy, forcing this girl to try to walk as she slams to the ground, a 9-year-old girl. It's just disgusting. This hospital, in my opinion, I don't care, unless it's $1 billion, didn't get the whipping that they deserved. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mark, as a legal expert we spoke with explains, there are laws in place to prevent this from happening more often. However, with so much at stake in this case, the judge felt there was enough credibility in some of these accusations to call the juror in for questioning. For several minutes Wednesday, Judge Hunter Carroll pressed juror Paul Langley on 4 key issues, including whether he shared any information about the case with his wife during the trial.
Did you speak with anyone, that would include your wife, concerning anything having to do with this case?
No, I did not.
Langley continued to answer all the judge's questions, including accusations that he did his own research on the case during the trial, knew one of the attorneys tied to the case, and was part of a prior case involving DCF, but Langley denied all of the allegations.
At the end of the day, the defense has failed to demonstrate any juror misconduct. The court will therefore deny the motion for new trial based on alleged juror misconduct.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we heard that. And why am I bringing this up? Because just because a defense attorney writes it into a pleading doesn't make it true. A lot of people, when they get these pleadings, they read it and they're like even with the Delphi case, the whole cult thing, everybody went crazy because if the defense attorney put it in a pleading, it must be true. They're defending their client. This is called trial strategy. This is, they have just because they put it in a pleading doesn't make it so, doesn't make it true. And they can make it sound good, but it doesn't mean that it's effective. It doesn't mean they're going to win. And this is a perfect example. And why am I bringing this up? Because we're going to be dealing with this in the Alec Murdaugh case. Now, the Alec Murdaugh case, I think, has a little more meat to the bone because in all fairness, Becky did it to herself with the whole wiretapping involving her son, doing some, stuff, even if she's right now on the chopping block and people are just picking on her with no, merit to the allegation, then, it's sad, but it's all about the smear because they have a trial strategy. And we have to remember that. When we deal with these, they're ruthless. Defense attorneys are ruthless. They don't care. They just don't care. They're out for the client. I mean, they have some checks and balances. They can't willfully mislead the courts. But if ignorance is bliss, right? Ignorance is bliss. And so they can manipulate a lot of information to make it have the appearance. And that's all they need is to have the appearance in an effort to argue that point. You see what I'm saying? So lots can be had with this, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. But, prayers for Maya, prayers for that whole situation, because it is just a sad case. I didn't realize it was going on like that, but clearly it is. We're going to move over to an update on the Crystal Rogers case. Many of you guys have not been with me for the Crystal Rogers case. Many of you have. So I'm going to play you guys just an update on who she is and what's going on in her case so I can provide you guys an update in her case, okay?
Crystal Rogers is a mother of 5 beautiful kids that went missing on the July 4th weekend in 2015. Her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, came under heavy scrutiny about her disappearance back in 2015, but for whatever reason, the case went cold. Well, this particular case just heated up most recently in September with the very first arrest of a gentleman by the name of Joseph Lawson. This is an employee of Brooks Houck. Brooks Houck was later arrested after Joseph Lawson, and the case kind of died out. There was some major shocks in the case when the state prosecutor, Brooks Houck's bail hearing, tells the judge that his brother, Nick, might have been the one that shot Crystal's father, Tommy Ballard. If you're unfamiliar with this case, Crystal is a beautiful young lady that disappeared in 2015, and her father went out looking for her and searching and was probably finding evidence about what happened to his daughter. Well, during a hunting, what many thought was a hunting accident on Tommy Ballard's property, he was shot to death. And apparently during this bail hearing for Brooks Houck, it was alleged that his brother, Nick,
may have killed Crystal's father.
Today in court, prosecutors said they believe they have the gun used to kill Tommy Ballard now, connecting the investigation with the death of his daughter, Crystal Rogers.
Waiting for testing to come back on the firearm we believe was used to murder Tommy Ballard, a firearm that we purchased from Nicholas Howe, who was using a fake name when he sold the rifle.
This case has a lot of twists and turns, and that's not it. In 2013, an officer was ambushed. His name is Jason Ellis. And people are starting to feel that this Jason Ellis is connected to this particular case with Crystal Rogers and Brooks Houck. So now we have 3 people arrested in connection with the death of Crystal Rogers, although her body has not yet been found.
A third person is indicted in connection to the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. Stephen Lawson was just indicted on conspiracy to commit murder. Joseph Lawson was also indicted earlier this year on conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence charges. Then Brooks Houck was indicted on murder. Rogers went missing in 2015, but her body has never been found.
Joseph was first arrested in the case earlier this year. Right now, Steve Lawson is in jail in Harrison County, Indiana. He'll be extradited back to Nelson County for his arraignment later this month.
Pieces falling into place 8 years after the disappearance of Crystal Rogers, the mother of 5 from Bardstown, last seen alive 4th of July weekend 2015. Now, 3 men have been linked to her death, believed to have happened that very same weekend. Joseph Lawson was the first arrest. Brooks Houck was second. Now Steve Lawson marks the third, a name not new to the investigation. In fact, it was first mentioned just months after Rogers was reported missing inside the Nelson County Sheriff's interrogation room.
Police arresting Steve Lawson today. The Nelson County grand jury indicting Lawson on 2 charges, conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Adding to the whirlwind few months it's been in the unsolved Crystal Rogers case.
But everyone is excited. This has been a long time coming.
Police say they can now tie a third person to her 2015 disappearance, charging this man, Stephen Lawson, with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Like everybody, we just want justice for the Ballards and for people to pay for the crimes that they did.
Crystal Rogers.
Oh, there we go. All right, guys. So that's kind of the digest version, Reader's Digest version of the Crystal Rogers case in a nutshell. We've done some investigative research on this case. There are some nuances, especially with the Jason Ellis aspect of it. But for the most part, you know, Crystal Rogers was killed in 2015. Her father was gunned down on his property in 2016. And the case went cold in 2016 with no arrest. And then in September of this year, or excuse me, last year, 2023, we started getting arrests. The first one was Joseph Lawson, that older gentleman you just saw there, Steve Lawson, that was his son. The very first arrest was Steve Lawson's son, Joseph Lawson, and then Brooks Houck was arrested second. And then some months went by, nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, Stephen Lawson was arrested as well. We anticipate more arrests. They still have not arrested Brooks Houck's brother, Nick, for the death of Crystal's father, but they are making headway in the Crystal Rogers case. Joseph Lawson has approached the courts and asked for a reduction in bail. And then now we are here with, I believe this might be the reduction in bail. I don't know if this is for Joseph or Stephen, but it's for Joseph. Excuse me, Stephen. Stephen's the older gentleman. This is the father. So let me go ahead without further ado. Here's your latest update on the Crystal Rogers case.
In Bardstown today in the Crystal Rogers investigation, Steve Lawson, the third man arrested in her disappearance, was told he'll have to wait to see if a judge will lower his bond.
And just to give you guys a little bit of background information about Stephen, it's the father, the older guy, that one that's what we're about to do this interview or this segment on right now. He was actually working with the FBI and other agencies on a transactional immunity deal, and through that, he divulged a lot of information that he had not divulged in a significant amount of years to prove that he had nothing to do with it. And then they ultimately got charged with these crimes. The crimes that he's being charged with is tampering with physical evidence and basically an accessory after the fact. In my opinion, it's I can't remember the actual specific charge off the top of my head. Either way, and I'm pretty sure somebody's probably going to drop that in here. So just look at the chat. Somebody will give you the actual charges, the two charges that Stephen. So they're going to be arguing this immunity. His attorney, he's had an attorney for some time, and they've been working on this immunity deal. I truly believe Stephen must have lied to law enforcement for them to take that immunity deal. But either way, you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. We'll learn it as this case starts unfolding.
It's our top story at 6. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Doug Proffitt. Lawson was arrested back on December 8th, accused of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence. Today, he asked the judge to lower his bond from its current $500,000. Senior reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez and photojournalist Jessica Farley are in Nelson County tonight.
Steve Lawson's attorney maintains his client has been forthcoming with authorities from the very start, and for that reason, should not be considered a flight risk and should have his bond reduced. Now, another piece of information revealed in this hearing,
no clue.
Lawson's previous struggles with alcohol all those years ago. It was our first in-person look at Steve Lawson since he was arrested in connection to Crystal Rogers' death. He sat in the courtroom, quiet, mostly looking down. Sitting in the pews watching, Sherry Ballard, at times emotional, her granddaughter Tori, and Crystal's grandfather Till Ballard. In direct comments to the judge, Lawson's attorney, Ted Lavitt, argued his client has fully cooperated with Kentucky State Police, giving them any testimony they've asked for in an agreement to be immune from prosecution.
They had their way with my client. We stayed until the end every time.
But special.
So, and I actually like his attorney. I will be honest with you. Shay McAllister, she just got married, so she might have changed her name. I don't know what her new name's going to be, but Shay, she's been covering this case from the beginning. Just a great resource to have. And she did an interview with this attorney, and on another segment, we will do it. We'll go through this entire case. We'll probably do it later this afternoon. We'll go over Crystal Rogers because this case really is near and dear to me.
Prosecutor Shane Young telling the judge the $500,000 bond is appropriate given the severity of the charges. Judge Charles Sims will sit on the comments made and decide whether to grant Lavitt's request to reduce Lawson's bond to $20,000.
Probably the next 5 days, okay? Yes.
Only Lavitt answered questions from reporters after the hearing. You had said your client was a person of interest and a target since 2015. Can you reiterate?
Well, that's my understanding, but I can tell you that he has been a target, and because, number one, he was a part-time former employee of the person indicted for murder.
Lavitt revealed Steve Lawson was badly struggling with alcoholism when Crystal went missing. So naturally, Lavitt was asked if that could have clouded Lawson's memory when giving his account of what he witnessed from that time.
I think he's doing the best he can. And when he couldn't remember something, the Commonwealth was all over him, attempting to grab it out of his skull.
Lawson escorted out the way he came in, the Ballard family hoping for continued decisive action in this case.
I got to be honest with you. You know, I'm a little, I don't know how I feel about this because I believe Steve Lawson is truly trying to help, but in the same sense, in the same good conscience that I say that, why did it take so many years for him to come forward? That's just the part that I don't know if I can quite get over for me personally, but in the same sense, whenever they're like this case went cold, you know, how do we know that it wasn't because of Steve's cooperation that there was arrests that were made, primarily his son. His son's arrest. How do we know that it wasn't Steve that were able to get all these arrests finally? And if that's the case, and they used him, and they were able to get these arrests when they have not been able to bring charges for over 8 years, and they promised this man transactional immunity because he had such a low hand in it. If that is true, I'm going to keep saying that because I'll always have to maintain that, there is a possibility that he lied to law enforcement, and that's why it tanked his immunity deal. Because let's face it, immunity deal is a sweetheart deal. It's basically saying, you need to tell us exactly what happened, step by step, truthfully. You cannot lie. You cannot, distance your part. You have to tell us everything as it happened. And when you get an opportunity like that, you vomit the truth, period. That's you getting a sweetheart deal. You're about to walk on any culpability, any charges that you have, you're about to walk on. Your only requirement is to be honest and truthful in your deliberation of your statement, right? When you tell them your statement. And so we have to caution ourselves and say, wait a minute, there is that possibility. We don't know the details, and we don't. We can speculate, and I'm speculating both sides. I'm speculating that he was screwed, and I'm speculating that he lied, right? That he wasn't screwed. He did this to himself. But either way, I feel like there's a reason for it. But if for any reason he is being screwed, they gave him a lot of promises, and he cooperated with his truth. Because again, if he had alcohol problems, this is so many years later, so many years later, 8 years later, and he's older. Naturally, he's going to forget details. It's natural for anyone to forget details. But you know what? You do get reminded, right? Like, well, didn't you say this back? It's, oh, yes. And it helps remind you. But there are some things, like if you ask me about my 20s, when I was diluted with all the crap that I was putting in my body, my 20s are a blur to me. I don't remember crap. I was in a car accident. I know I was in a car accident. I don't remember the car accident. I was a passenger, so I don't want any, crazy stories going around. But, I was a passenger in a pickup truck, and we were in a wreck. I went to the hospital. I remember being at the hospital. I don't remember any of the wreck. So who is it? Speculation Station. I didn't know anything was going on, but I hear people are, giving you their condolences. So whatever you're going through, I'm really sorry. I didn't see it. But just wanted to make sure that I said something. Where else are we? Okay. Now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of this segment. We've got two major points of topic for this particular segment. One is the shooting at the school yesterday. We were talking about the Soto case here on the Soto Guerra case. I don't want to keep forgetting Matthew. Matthew is a victim of this. I think everybody's focused on Savanah and the baby because in our minds, we perceive at least the baby as being the most innocent of the victims. We know that they lived a lifestyle that we don't understand. It's not for us to sit there and judge their lifestyle at this point. This is not the name of the game here. We have to talk about it as the factual parts of the case, but giving it as a reason for this to happen to these, I refuse to do that. These are victims. There is nothing that these kids did that deserve this outcome, period. And anybody that thinks that whatever they did deserves this outcome, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I pray that you get some healing in your heart that makes you feel that they deserve this. Nobody deserves this, period. Nobody. And I mean nobody. So while we were talking about that, we got off, and then all of a sudden we start hearing that there's this shooting at a school. It was the first day back from Christmas vacation. So some of us, I mean, just like me, your natural reaction is this a prank call? Is this a prank? They're several hours away or an hour or something. I don't know what Iowa is. But either way, we start getting messages that there's this shooting going on and we don't know what's going on. There's just a heavy presence. So we just decide to go live. And even as we're going live, I'm telling you guys, I don't know if this is a prank. I don't know if this is legit. I don't know, but we're hearing this coming in. We're starting to news feeds and we realize, yes, this is truly serious. There is a person in that school that did discharge a firearm. And so we started plugging in, started trying to get as much information. It was very skewed. We actually missed the press conference, watching the press conference. Like we saw the freaking, all the microphones. We heard the officer come up to him and say, stay right here. We're going to do the press conference right here. But then for whatever reason, they panned to a different camera or something like that. Anyways, we ended up watching CNN. We ended up watching CNN press conference and got the details of it. Well, since then, they didn't release anything. Let's face it. They didn't release a whole lot of information on what happened, who it was, nothing. Literally a few minutes after the press conference was over, people started releasing the person's photo and the person's name. It started coming out as Colby Butler, and everybody's like, no, it's Dylan Butler, it's Dylan Butler. And then, I watched it. I gotta say, this is the first time. I was joking about it because this is the first time I've ever changed a thumbnail, changed a name, changed it back again. It ended up going through four renditions, 2 on the Colby, 2 on the Dylan. We settled for the Dylan, okay? And we come to find out that Dylan, it's Colby or Dylan Butler, aka Colby Butler, or vice versa. I don't know which. So the person goes by both names, and we're learning that this person is gender fluid, which we looked that up. I didn't understand what gender fluid means. I don't know if it means bisexual. I don't know if it means that they just don't identify as male or female, or they take a pick and choose of what day they wake. I don't understand it. I don't know it. I don't want to be offensive or anything like that. I just don't understand it. I don't know what it means, but that's my understanding of what it means. If some other people might be confused out there as well. Either way, I want to make sure that we bring this up and discuss this. This is more information about that shooting that we did not have. Maybe you do. I didn't have it until this morning. And here you all go.
Mort Vet. I'm an assistant director with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. At 7:37 a.m., on January 4th, 2024, as additional officers responded, a systematic approach search of the school took place. Officers located during the search of the school an improvised explosive device. The state fire marshal and the Bureau of Alcohol.
Did he just say they had an explosive device? So they must have deployed an explosive device. Let's listen to that again. That's new information to me. Let's listen to that again.
I'm an assistant director with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. At 7:37 a.m., on January 4th, 2024, as additional officers responded, a systematic approach search of the school took place. Officers located during the search of the school an improvised explosive device.
Oh my gosh. They didn't bring an explosive device. The guy did. Holy crap. Are you serious? I did not know that. I think the device, was it dud or didn't? Either way. Wow. This kid wanted to do as much massive destruction as possible. What would make a 17-year-old have this much anger and hate in his heart? I don't know. My word. My word. Okay. Sorry.
The state fire marshal and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms rendered the device safe. Numerous officers from multiple agencies were able to secure the school and verify no additional threats. At the same time, first responders were rendering aid to the victims, who were later transported to area hospitals. The shooter has been identified as 17-year-old Dylan Butler.
Dylan Butler. Okay, so this is where they're going to kind of explain. Thank you, Don Michelle, for that. Hopefully that, so she's, Don Michelle says, gender fluid definition is non-fixed identity to either, it can shift over time. I don't know what that, that's still confusing to me, not a fixed identity. Either way, that's the situation with this young man, or woman. I don't want to be offensive, but I don't understand. I don't get it. So we'll just call Dylan, or if Colby is what he or she refers to, I don't know.
A student at Perry High School. Butler was armed with a pump action shotgun and a small caliber handgun. Butler also made a number of social media posts in and around the time of the shooting. Law enforcement is working to secure those pieces of evidence. All evidence thus far suggests that Butler acted alone. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation is serving as the lead investigative agency with assistance from the Perry Police Department, the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, the ATF, and the Dallas County Attorney's Office.
Okay, so let's replay that.
Mitch Mortvet.
Okay, I'm not going to replay that just yet. So as you see, there's a little bit more information about this. I wanted to go over some more details that weren't discussed in this video here. I think is it this one? I think this is the one, but we'll just read it. But we have an update, and I got to say, it's not what I expected. I'm sure maybe many of you guys know that. What does Mike say? Did the cops wait till everybody was dead, including the shooter, before they bravely rushed in? I hope not. I hope not. It seems like they resolved this issue as quickly as possible. Minimal loss of life and minimal injuries. This is, when you have a situation like this, I think you can't obviously stop a situation once the ball's already rolling, it's already rolling. But I think in a situation like this, we pray to God that it is minimal, that the destruction and the havoc is minimal as possible. This, it's sad. I would have loved to be able to report that there was no loss of life and only minimal injuries, but that's not the case here. And it's sad to say. We're about to find out what the true gravity of it is. And I just want to caution you guys that this is going to be hard to hear, okay? But it was as minimal as, I don't even want to say as expected. I mean, this should not be expected. A gunman killed. I want you guys to hear this. This is going to be the hard part. And it starts right off with the hard part, okay? A gunman killed a 6th grade student. Okay, we heard that a girl had been shot twice in the head region. We learned that yesterday before we got off because I said the big old fat, Jesus word in vain, and I had to apologize. I don't know how. If he was mad at somebody, how a 6th grade student deserved to lose her life. I believe it's a female because that was the only one that I heard had 2 bullet wounds in the head region. And I don't understand what that student did to this gunman. And I thought it was the principal. It's not. So let me go ahead and put this up here so you guys can read along with me. A gunman killed a 6th grade student and injured 5 other people at a high school in Perry, Iowa, early Thursday morning, just as students were arriving back to school after their winter break. 4 of the injured were students, and 1 was an administrator. Mitch, I don't know Mitch M's name, but it's the assistant director of the Iowa division. One of the division's assistant directors said. So Mitch is the assistant director. So he's the one giving this statement at a news conference on Thursday. The administrator was identified by East Valley Communications School District as Dan Marburger. The principal at Perry High School where the shooting took place. Officials did not release the name of the other victims. The gunman identified as Dylan Butler, 17-year-old student at the school, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The investigator said law enforcement officials believe he acted alone and said the motive for the attack is not yet known. In Perry, a town of 8,000 people about 40 miles west of Des Moines, the shooting sent parents rushing to school. Businesses closed their doors early, and by evening, residents gathered for a candlelight vigil. This is just a sad case, and again, the person that lost their life is most likely the one person that had nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with this at all. This is becoming a common practice. I'm not going to get into it. I'm still a little emotional. I think we do need to have a conversation on it. I think a lot of people are open to having the conversation on it. I just want to make sure when we do have the conversation that everybody's tempers are down. I don't want it to be on the heels of something that causes additional emotion, because it's already an emotional conversation. But I do think we need to, have it. This is becoming common. This is coming to a school near you. I've got a lot of moms and dads in my chat. And, this scares us as a community, as a true crime community. This kind of violence scares us because it wreaks havoc on the most innocent of the innocent. We have some information coming out from the Associated Press, which is just basically going into a little more detail of the case with the student. Authorities identified Dylan Butler, 17, and provided no information about a possible motive. Two friends and their mother who spoke with the Associated Press said Butler was a quiet person who had been bullied for years. Okay? Bullied for years. We know a lot of bullies on this platform. We know a lot of bullies out there in the real world. We know a lot of bullies. Every single one of these cases that we hear, granted, it should never result in this. It should never result in this. When people are mean to you, you've got to find healthy ways to deal with those situations. You do. That's what they're failing to teach people, is the healthy ways to deal with this bullying online, bullying in person. Bullying is becoming a problem here. We're making laws to stop bullying, but until they are going to be enforcing those very laws about bullying, we're going to continue to have this. Bullying should not be condoned or tolerated in our civilized environment. If you don't like somebody, move on. If you can't move on, go get help. If you see your children bullying somebody, it's time to have a talk with them. I can tell you, I've been bullied. I'm an adult, and I will proclaim that I'm a healthy adult, right? People may say different, but they don't live my life, and they're not me. And I can tell you that it is hard. It is difficult. It is hard. It's unbearable at times. I can tell you that. As a healthy individual that has underwent some of the most egregious bullying you've ever seen, and you guys have witnessed it, whether people want to deny it or not, or justify it or not, it's a problem in this country that needs to be addressed. And we as a community have to say, no, we are no longer going to tolerate it. You can't sit here and complain about these types of shootings when every time we hear about them, we have a person that has emotional issues that was bullied. And you don't even know if they were bullied into those very emotional issues. What came first, the bullying or the mental issue from the bully? I'd like to know, because we need to have that conversation as well. Bullying is no longer tolerated. If you're part of it, stop it. You are part of the problem. The proof is in the pudding. Ethan. Remember Ethan up there, and where was Ethan? Ethan Crumbly. Bullied. When are we going to say no to this? When are we going to, let's talk. I mean, we want to talk about gun violence. And like I said yesterday, When you can scientifically prove to me that a gun loads itself, aims itself, and shoots itself, we can talk about removing guns off the street. Until then, we need to talk about what put the gun in that person's hand. We need to have real legislation on what's causing these problems. And people may be mad. I'm mean. Bullhorn Betty's mean. Bullhorn Betty's mean. Okay. Oh, sorry.
That's one of the big pieces that makes the response successful is that you have the interagency cooperation, you have interagency training that begins months and years before you have an incident like this. It's a sad situation that we have to prepare for. If you're not ready and if you're not planning, you're behind, because what we see today and what we've seen in the past is that no community is immune to this, and that you depend on that response from those first responders. And we train with all the agencies here in Central Iowa. It's replicated over and over again, and there's a very strict script that you follow so that everybody knows what you're doing when you get there.
Right. We're talking about kids. And like you said, something you have to prepare for, but never want to be in this situation. But Sergeant Preciado, can you confirm or tell us how much of a role Des Moines Police is playing in this situation right now?
We reached out right away and offered whatever resources they need. So we don't have right now an actual list of that. I've been asked to provide some assistance. I'm going to do that. We're there to support them with whatever they need, just as they've been there for us in the past. And that's one of the things that kind of sometimes gets overlooked is the piece that, you got parents that are first responders, and you have friends of these kids, particularly in small communities. So there's a response that is both head and heart, and we can guarantee you that there has been probably the swiftest response you can imagine, just like you've seen it when we have these types of incidents, unfortunately, in our communities.
Paul, we know that the work together is so important on this, but we also know that a key part to something like this is everybody you see there on the screen is walking and looking for answers. The police, the parents want answers, the students want answers, the neighbors want answers. At the same time, talk about a law enforcement angle of wanting to provide that information as quickly, as smoothly as possible, at the same time making sure you have your ducks in the row so people aren't unnecessarily worried. That is a challenge for a police officer in a position like yours or the officers up there on the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. And Alex nailed it when she said you don't want to facilitate the spreading of false information or rumors. And it's just the nature of the beast that things that you learn right in the moment, you sometimes find means something different later. Or maybe something that you saw or somebody said they saw something isn't exactly an accurate representation of it. They may recall that, they may recall seeing something and that was their perception, but there might be a piece that they missed along the way. So the investigation is going to be huge. And, we always ask everybody to be patient. We want to tend to families first and the victims first, and then we'll start going from there.
There is a protocol, there is a procedure, and being careful with information. And again, because we are also talking about high schoolers, this is at the high school early in the morning on their first day back, a shooting at one of our.
It might be the high school, but also the middle school is attached to that high school. And while this was a high school kid, a 6th grade middle school student was killed.
Local high school. So being careful and understanding the information that is coming. And with the power of our team and our eyes on the ground and the video that you are seeing live right now, that comes with the understanding that you have to be patient. Like you mentioned, Sergeant Preciado, because we are seeing this in real time. It has not even been 2 hours since this happened, which is still very early in an investigation.
Yeah, again, things are developing and they're going to move fast. If you can imagine the task in front of those first responders, their first is to go in there, take care of the shooter if that needs to be taken care of, get those victims help, And then you have to go through that entire school and make sure that you don't have maybe an unknown still there. So that has been ongoing. Has been a constant process.
And they did have an ongoing threat because we learned that they had a makeshift explosive device that they located.
Sergeant, you're cutting out just a little bit, but if possible, we want to talk about how different agencies practice work together. Unfortunately, this is a situation we've seen play out across the country, and every situation is a little bit different. That being said, once you go through all these situations, whether they are in Uvalde, Texas, or out in Connecticut, or down in Florida, wherever the situation is, or unfortunately here in central Iowa, there are lessons to be learned each time. Talk about that sharing of information in the aftermath and how that goes to perfecting and getting a response better when something like this unfolds, because no one could have predicted this happening today. At the same time, when you practice this, you have to be ready to know how to respond on every shift in every community, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that came out of Columbine in Colorado, was that we immediately learned in law enforcement, we need to change our response. We can't go to a scene, secure it, and wait for the SWAT team. You have to have every one of your initial first responders locked in as the person that's the first one there is going through the door.
So there we have it. Hold on, let me stop this. It won't let me stop it. It's going to click over. Sorry. There we go. So it sounds like, I know somebody asked if they were going to, if they breached, I think Big Mac Mike, still cranky from the tooth issue.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Right? So Mike asked if they waited until the SWAT was there. It sounds like this actually made entry. These law enforcement officers made entry before SWAT got there. It sounds like they were ready to neutralize the situation, but the situation had already neutralized itself. I agree with you, Izzy, that no internal turmoil that somebody's going through. A lot of people go through internal turmoil every single day, whether it's their identity, job, money. There's just a lot of internal turmoil with people that can make them, a little unstable at times or whatever. But even the bullying, it's no excuse to gun down innocent people. That's not how we handle our business anywhere in this world. It shouldn't be, rather. It shouldn't be how we handle our business anywhere in this world, not just here in the United States. But in the same right, these people that do have, identity issues, in my opinion, if you're having issues with your identity, whether or not, it doesn't matter, which way you go. I don't want to be, again, I'm not being disrespectful on this, but if you're confused, that tells you that maybe you need to go see a doctor to help unconfuse you. You don't need to do it alone is basically my drumbeat here. A lot of people feel like they have to suffer in silence. They're going through all this alone. Even young kids can go to doctors and go see therapists by themselves. They don't need permission from their parents. So I'm not sure, really what we can say, but my only concern, and I think that needs to be couched that way, because I am concerned if somebody is confused about their identity, because here on this channel, we want people to be comfortable in their own skin, whatever that skin looks like, one way or another. We want you to live your best life and be the best person you can, whether the world agrees with it or not. That's not for us. It's not our life. So it's sad that if somebody is struggling, and anybody that's in my chat or anybody that watches this, if you are struggling, with identity issues, please go talk to somebody. Maybe talking to somebody and putting everything out on the table may help you find out who you are. And at the end of the day, that really is what the journey's about, is to find out who you are as a person and to be you, the best you can be. And that's what we want. So anybody that's suffering, please, don't suffer. You don't need to suffer. So I think that's really it for that. The history. Oh, I did want to go through this. This is something I found interesting, and this is from the Des Moines Register, which I usually don't get into. They usually block me, but for whatever reason, they let me into this article. And I actually, it was interesting because it gives us the history of the shootings in Iowa. I'm going to drop it down into, I'm not going to go over it because I'm already over time right now to get onto the Soto case. So I'm just going to drop this in if you guys would like to read it. It really does have kind of like a breakdown of some of this stuff. Lastly, before we get into the Soto case, I did want to let you know this is not the first time for this community. Just back in September, they had another scare for this very high school. September 21st, 2020. Oh, this is in Georgia. Hold on. I grabbed the wrong one. However, there was, I had it up yesterday. I'm sorry. I grabbed is this the one? Dad burn it. I grabbed the wrong article. I had it up yesterday. I'm sorry, guys. When I went back to get it, I ended up grabbing the wrong thing. And so that was from Georgia, not from Iowa. But Perry High School in Iowa had a threat made to that school, from my understanding, according to news articles. I'll go back and read it and confirm that because I'm a little off with the Georgia connection that I just pulled up. I want to make sure that the one I showed yesterday was truly from Iowa. I put Perry High School, Iowa in there, and the article from a previous arrest where kids were trying to plan a shooting. They ended up like foiling it. Law enforcement got word that they were trying to go in there and shoot, but that article I just saw was from Georgia. So we'll clarify that, and I'll get back to you. Before we get started, we all know in the Savanah Soto case, I'm going to try to give you guys the Reader's Digest version of what happened as we know it. Actually, I don't even need to give you guys the Reader's Digest version. We have the affidavit. And I got to say, I'm kind of disappointed in this affidavit. I expected it to answer questions that we all had about this. It did answer a few questions. And this is where I said that It's Me Too, that did a mess of research on this case, was right with a lot of the assessments on here related to, we'll get through it. We're going to read I know the affidavit has been read to you guys probably 1,000 times, so I'm not going to read the entire affidavit. But what I will say, let me get my phone out because I had already reviewed it, and I know I responded to Sweet Misery. And this is what I said to Sweet Misery. And don't worry, Sweet, I'm not going to redo this thing. She sent it to me, and I said, oh, golly, this is what I wrote to her. I said, golly, that wasn't helpful. Well, it cleared up a few things. They weren't abducted, and he wasn't violated. But it was so vague, we don't know what condition or why the family said he was tortured. It was so vague, they never mentioned Matthew's phone. I'll have to reread it. And that is basically, when I read this affidavit, when it was sent to me, that was what my assessment of it. It didn't explain anything. I can't say if they can prove, like with Brian Kohberger's, when we read that probable cause affidavit, one of the first comments I made was if they could prove 75 or 85% of that what they wrote in that probable cause affidavit, Brian Kohberger would be toast. And when I read this affidavit for the arrest warrant, I'm like, this, I don't know. It's vague. I don't know any other word for this other than vague. What we learned is information that we had available to us, that we were advising people on, that we were told was inaccurate. For example, we heard from the family that they spoke to her, or at least we heard rumors. I didn't specifically, nor had I addressed this on this channel at all, but it was going around on other channels that the family had spoken with Savanah Soto on the 22nd sometime. What we did learn is that because of that information, we believe that they disappeared sometime on the 22nd. We come to find out that they were actually shot and killed on the 21st. This affidavit, I have to be honest with you, shows, in my opinion, almost premeditation to this crime. I'm sorry, guys. I see you guys are writing in the chat. I don't know what you guys are saying. I'm not paying attention to chat. So once I get, if you guys want to chat between yourselves and answer your own questions, that's fine. If you guys want to wait until after I'm done, then I'll look at chat and read your questions. So if you do have any questions for me, just hold them until I tell you I'm ready for the questions, or, just write them down someplace else. Otherwise, I won't see them and won't be able to answer them. So we learned that this is what we learned. We learned that the capital murder, the multiple capital murder, happened on December 21st. Okay. We also know that they weren't reported missing until the afternoon of the 23rd. So that means that even before she was supposed to arrive to that doctor's appointment, she did not. She was already dead. They were both already gone. They were both already gone before they were ever even reported missing. At least a good 24 hours reported missing. Now we know why. Remember, we could never understand why law enforcement said 3 or 4 days they've been there. They kept kind of emphasizing that 4th day, and we calculated and we knew that they had to have been there for 3 days because we knew that they couldn't have disappeared before the 22nd. And so there was a whole 24 hours that we missed. And that explains why they said 4 days. But apparently, so what it cleared up that we did hear a yell from the neighbor. And even Karen tried to inform me that the neighbor scream was the night before we were told that they went missing. It was on the 21st. And I was like, are you sure? Maybe somebody misspoke. We even discussed that aspect of them misspeaking and possibly having their days confused. We did discuss that. However, in this affidavit, we learn that Savanah and Matthew drove to the location to do a marijuana deal, okay, a weed deal. People say marijuana is a low-level drug and nobody gets hurt. Okay, I want to put this in perspective. I know there's going to be people out here. We're not in the streets, right? Most of the people that are in my chat that smoke green usually purchase it from a dispensary now, right? We're not really going to the corner dealer and getting the marijuana. I don't know much about that, but I did once upon a time. Don't let me fool you. I did inhale. Okay, I'm not going to do a Bill Clinton. I did inhale. However, I didn't have sexual relations with that woman. Okay, it just is what it is. I need to stop. But it looks like within 4 minutes. So they say in this affidavit, this very bare, vague affidavit, that on December 20, that during the investigation, this particular affiant, the officer, which his name is Detective Jeremy Goodwin. So this is the person authoring this arrest warrant affidavit is Jeremy Goodwin. So when you hear me say affiant, we're referring to Jeremy, okay, to Jeremy. So it says right, I was just where I needed it to go. Here it is. During the investigation, your affiant found surveillance video at 5903 Danny K. The video surveillance found on December 21st, 2023. So we definitely know that on December 21st is when, right before midnight, is when that car was dropped off at that location, Danny K location, where it was ultimately found with 2 deceased bodies inside of it. So right at 23:59, so literally at 11:59 at night, a Silverado, a Chevy Silverado gray, driving with its lights off from a vehicle recovered at the location. The Silverado pulled in the middle of the back parking lot and parked the vehicle. The victim's vehicle could be seen approaching the Silverado. The victim's vehicle pulled up next to the Silverado. A heavy-set male exited the Silverado and the driver's side door of the victim's vehicle opened. The heavy-set male approached the driver's vehicle, driver of the victim's vehicle, and appeared to speak to the driver. The heavy-set male then took a towel from his vehicle and appeared to wipe the outside of the vehicle's door where he had touched the vehicle. The driver of the victim's vehicle exited the vehicle for a brief moment and sat back in the driver's seat. The driver did not match the description of the female victim or the male victim. The Hispanic male got back into his vehicle, and the victim's vehicles drove behind the vehicle building where the vehicle was found on December 26, 5 days later, by the way. The Silverado followed the victim's vehicle. Approximately 3 minutes later, the Silverado was observed leaving from behind the building where the victim's vehicle was found. The victim's vehicle did not leave the location. We did learn, I need to find it in here. Okay, here we go. This is the reason why I truly believe that this was a premeditated hit. And I think it's a robbery. I think it's a drug deal that's gone bad, but I really don't. I truly think that this was a premeditated robbery. And again, it's just my speculation. I've been wrong about a lot of details in this case. A lot of the assessments I made up front were fairly accurate, and let's face it, Christopher is a pretty looking dude. Okay. Dude looks like a lady. Okay. You guys can be beat bullhorn Betty up. I know, but you know what? I really don't care. Be mad at me. I don't care. There's a few things that I just really don't care about, people talking smack about me when I say certain things. And I gotta tell you, this is one case I really don't care because, I try to be a Christian lady, and I'm still controversial no matter what, but I always try to be a Christian lady, and I try to find the silver lining and try to find the good and try to find, I even call some of these monsters gentlemen and stuff like that. When I'm talking about them, I try to be respectful. I try to understand, but this is one of the cases. I mean, it's an innocent baby. And if you know anything about me, that's just something you don't come back from. And my Christianity, and I'm not a perfect Christian. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not a perfect human being. I'll be the first one to admit it. I am not perfect. That is the least thing that this girl is right here. I am far from perfect. I don't ever proclaim to be perfect. I don't be perfect in anything. And at sometimes I just don't care. And this is one of the cases that I don't care. I don't care what happens to this kid. In my mind, he is not salvageable. He's gone too far. And people hate me saying that. And then they want to beat me up for it. They want to beat me up and say, no, I don't care. You beat me up. Run, put me through the mud. I don't care. I'm going to stand on this hill and I'm going to die on this sword. I don't give a flying you-know-what. I really don't. Let me tell you why I think that this was premeditated, and I don't consider it a gang hit. I think this was just pure greed and robbery. I think this kid wanted what they had and didn't want to give what he had. On January 2nd, your affiant provided one of the victim's cell phone to Detective Knox, the technical investigative unit. On January 3rd, 2024, the affiant received the phone download from Detective Knox. Your affiant, which is the Jeremy guy, investigator, the one that's authoring this affidavit, found that the victim's phone had recently searched the street Charlie Chan Drive. Due to your affiant's knowledge of the crime scene area, your affiant is aware that Charlie Chan Drive was just a what? Couple blocks away. Bullhorn Betty was right about something. There was a lot of people that came on here and said that their house was 4 miles away from this location. According to this affidavit, their house was only blocks away. And we talked about statistics in search areas when you have missing people and deceased people, and how criminals move about, especially when they have, let's face it, dead bodies in their car. Okay. They don't want to drive around with dead bodies. It's a normal behavior. When you have a dead body, whether you like it or not, your brain is more powerful than you. Okay. So your brain knows that you're doing something wrong, and it's going to make your body naturally nervous. You cannot control that unless you are a psychopath, a sociopath, or so narcissistic you feel nothing. Okay. So if you're even a crazy person, you're going to feel something. Your body, your mind is going to feel something, some type of way about this, whether your heart and your behaviors do. It's still going to allow you to be really, really nervous. But he was blocks away. Pebbles said 4 minutes. I think it was from Pebbles, a 4-minute drive, very close. This would be right in line with statistics in this particular matter. With it being as populated as it is, we here on this channel said that they would be within a 2-mile radius of their home. That, based on the population, that was my personal assessment of how far away that they would be at the maximum for me. Doesn't mean that I'm accurate with that. It's a statistic, and I live in the world of statistics, and statistics doesn't mean that it's going to happen like that every time. It just means the majority of the time. That's why we live in that statistical area, because it's the majority. It's the law of large numbers. The majority of these cases happen this way, and therefore that's going to be our first avenue that we go to, because that's the path of least resistance. Then when we exhaust that this is this statistical, that this is an outlier, this doesn't bode with the statistics, then we start looking at the other pieces, the smaller pieces of the pie, and looking for information there. So on December 3rd, they did get the download of the, January 3rd, they did get the download of the phone. They did find that it appeared Savanah Soto search Charlie Chan Drive. And they found this location being only a couple blocks away from where the discovery of the car. Here's where it starts getting into the hours, and this is where it starts bothering me. Okay, it's this next paragraph. Your affiant was able to discover that the victim's vehicle pinged near Charlie Chan Drive and Cary Grant Drive at 2350. Okay, at 2350. So they go to that property. Their last ping at 2350 happened. The vehicle did not start moving again until 2354. So in 4 minutes, within 4 minutes, both Matthew and Savanah were killed. In 4 minutes. And in less than 10 minutes, they were not only went from being alive to being dead within 4 minutes to be dumped in less than 10 minutes. Within 9 minutes, this kid had both of these people executed and the car dumped. 9 minutes. I want that to sink into your head. It took this little boy, this pretty little boy, this 19-year-old pretty little boy, less than 4 minutes to execute 2 people and less than 10 minutes to execute them and dump their bodies. That is unheard of to me. That is exactly why I say this is premeditated. Whether it's sloppy or not, I don't give a rat's patootie. This looks pretty premeditated to me. Has no connection. That's what he tells him. Has no connection to this apartment complex. I beg to differ with it being 4 minutes away from his house. Did he used to go there and hang out with people when he was a kid? How long has he been in that house on Charlie Chan Drive? These are all the questions I want to know. It just doesn't seem, all they basically said in this affidavit is that, and his story was bizarre too, right? So basically what Christopher, the pretty little boy, told law enforcement is that when they got there, there was a struggle and Matthew brandished the gun. The wrestler that Christopher, pretty little boy is, he was able to wrestle with that gun and get control of the gun, right? And accidentally shot Savanah. Just happened to have a contact wound behind the ear, right? But it was from the struggling of the gun, don't you know? Struggling of the gun, man, it got right up to the back of her head and managed to pull the trigger. Sounds like it was a struggle to be. Right? It was a struggle to be. And then apparently Matthew, the strong guy that he was able to take back that gun and points it at him, right? But doesn't pull the trigger. Manages to get the gun under control, but points it at him, but never pulls the trigger toward him. Never quite gets his finger around that trigger to take care of business with Chris. Remember, it was Matthew that pulled out the gun, don't you know? But somehow or another, this Christopher, this pretty little boy, was able to wrestle with Matthew again and get the gun. And during that fight managed to get it up to his head and make contact and take care of business, right? I want you guys to, as I'm describing it, you're trying to envision it in your brain, how this could have happened based upon that. And even when we're trying to play it in our brain, it doesn't make sense. So you got control of the gun to shoot Savanah, right? So Matthew had the gun and didn't fire a shot to you. You managed to get a hold of the gun, and the only time it managed to fire was to fire it in the head of Savanah. And he got control of it again, but he still didn't shoot you yet a second time that he had a gun. And that's after you just killed his baby and his fiance. But he still didn't shoot you the second time, and you managed to wrestle the gun with him. And during the wrestle, managed to get his arm all the way up to his head and make sure that gun barrel was touching his skin. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I know, I did too. I did too. So, I think we already saw that. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this case, because I just don't believe this was a drug deal that went bad. I really don't. I think this was a true blue. I don't know if this is something. Let me put this up. Hold on, I got another video. When I start talking too much, it always does something to my videos.
Police say 19-year-old Christopher Preciado killed the young couple and that 53-year-old Ramon Preciado helped move the bodies. Police say the victims were 18-year-old Savanah Soto, who was about to give birth, and her 22-year-old boyfriend, Matthew Guerra. They were found shot dead in a car in San Antonio last month. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas joins us now. Guad, first, just walk us through what happened. I mean, how are sort of father...
So I also want to say this before we get out into this clip, because it just popped into my head. The parents, we have some clarification. We're going to try to go over it. I think we got the letter from the state attorney, the state prosecutor on this case, and they basically said under Texas law, they could technically charge him with the death of the baby. Under their law, and I pray that they do. I think that this is it's a full miscarriage of justice if he's only charged with 2 deaths. I'm sorry. That baby had the worst of it. I'm going to say it just like that. That baby suffered the worst. And I want that to sink into everybody watching this channel and watching this show, that baby suffered. There was no quick out for that baby. There was no quick out for that baby. That baby was still alive in her belly, guys. Baby Fabian was alive in her belly after she was no longer there. That baby suffered, in my opinion, worse than either one of his parents. And I can't even tell you how, because it makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me sick to my stomach. So that baby deserves to be in that indictment. That baby deserves to be in that indictment. But either way, Guerra's father and stepmother came out and basically said that they want the DP in this matter. And you know what? I don't blame them. If this was my family member, I would be demanding the same thing. I'm an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth type of person. But see, I'm a little more barbaric than our government. I really am. I won't lie. I'm a lot more barbaric than our government, because I'm one of those people, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth people. I believe that you should have to go out the way you took somebody out. I really do. That is my personal, if you're sentenced to death, your death should be identical to how you hurt somebody else. As barbaric as that is, and I think it should be public, literally in town square. Because you start making this public and seeing the ruthlessness, people will change their ways really, really quickly. You talk about a deterrent, I bet you our crime rate drops very, very quickly. But nobody's as barbaric as me. So hey, I get it. I'm controversial. I get it. I own my stuff. I'm comfortable in my skin. I know exactly who I am.
Mother and the son now connected to this couple.
Morgan, we still don't know what type of connection they could have had. Now, authorities did say overnight that they believe this is the result of what could have been a drug deal gone bad. They've also shared a timeline. Authorities believe that they were murdered on December 21st. And then days later, Savanah's family contacted authorities. She was set to be induced in the hospital, as we know that she was pregnant. And then it was 3 days after the date she was set to be induced that the bodies were found on December 26th. This video, which we see, this is an image of a video that authorities released on the 28th, and it showed the vehicle in which the two bodies were found next to a pickup truck, in which the man now detained, the suspect, appeared walking outside of that pickup truck. Now,
I will say this, and this is a good lesson for all of us to learn. Excuse me. This is a good lesson for all of us to learn is, those initial assessments. We really need to start trusting those initial assessments, because I got to tell you, I think my initial assessments of the situation was more spot on than as I kept watching the video, looking, because in my mind, the original assessment of that truck video, I knew the man stepping out was a much older man. I knew that without a doubt. And somewhere along the lines, just watching other things and realizing maybe what I'm seeing is not what I'm seeing, and second guessing myself, made the guy become a sumo wrestler, much younger, much fatter. Right? Oh, the button's getting sticky. Keep in line with terms of service. We dress up cuss words. So please be careful in your cuss words. Yes, we do. We try very hard to make this. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect person. And I got a really bad button, so it's not like I'm telling you guys, do it as I say, not as I do.
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
But I think this is a valuable lesson for us to know. We need to start trusting our initial assessments, because our initial assessments are unobstructed assessments, right? We're not having any kind of influence, right? I feel like when we start re-looking and being influenced in the way we assess something, I really do believe that we start seeing things that aren't there. All right. I mean, I watched a lot of sumo wrestling porn. I got to be honest with you. Okay. I'm not doing it. It's the ass cheeks. I'm not lying to you. Okay. It is the butt cheeks. God bless you, sumo wrestlers. But see, I'm not like a teabag G-string mama, right? Okay. I know this is TMI and I'm probably going to, this is where everybody's like, you're giving away too much information on your show, right? That's all right. They can take this one. This one again, comfortable in my own skin. Okay, comfortable in my own skin. I am not a teabag, dental floss lady. Okay, I'm sorry. I appreciate my tailbone a little bit better than that. So I've got to be honest with you. The sumo wrestlers having the cheeks exposed, like I consider myself, an all right looking chick, right? I don't even do that. All right, I don't even do that. I don't even let anybody see the dimples in my booty. I don't want to see the dimples in somebody else's. You guys get it? The butt cheeks. Butt cheeks. The butt cheeks. There it is. So it's nothing more than it's a moist issue for me, okay? It's a moist issue with the sumo wrestlers. But anyways, getting back, I know I'm taking it on a little bit of a lighter, funnier situation than it really is. But in the reality of it, I want people to trust their initial instincts. This is one where I think we need to trust those initial assessments, because I know for me, as it went on and as I was influenced, things got a little bit different. And I knew that man in that truck, I knew the man in the truck was older. And then all of a sudden, by the time we get down, it's a younger sumo wrestler. And I just think that that's a valuable lesson that we all need to identify and acknowledge. The second thing is a lot of the information that we heard that was being peddled from people said the family told them, excuse me, was also inaccurate. We got to take into consideration that families aren't getting any more information than we as the public are. And we have to remember that. We think that because it's family members giving us the information that they are the beacon of knowledge. We have to remember law enforcement blocks them out too. And they're going by things that they heard too. Maybe even things that they saw for a split second and don't know what it means, and now, has manifested into something more than what it was. We have to remember that that is possible. So with that guy being in the car, he was an older guy. We saw the compression socks. We should have known this man was over the age of 50. He was a heavy-set man with compression socks. I mean, we should have known, and we did, and then we were swayed. So I think one thing that we found out from this affidavit is it's in line with the real Me Too. She said that she didn't feel that they were abducted from their home, that she felt they left willingly. That was accurate, true, and correct, according to the affidavit. We all had a feeling that they were killed elsewhere and dumped there. That was true, according to the affidavit. We learned that the site, them dropping this car off, was done on January 24th, literally 1 minute before midnight, before it turned over to December 24th. It was December 21st. December 21st at 11:59, right before it went over to December 22nd. We know now that within 10 minutes of them being executed, of them showing up at that Charlie Chan Drive, within 10 minutes, they were dead and dumped. So that video was done within 10 minutes of them being killed. So the allegations that they were laying on the floor of the garage doesn't hold water, according to the affidavit. So we did learn that. So a lot of the stuff we knew was true, we had off by about 24 hours. Everything that we were saying happening on the 22nd and into the 23rd actually happened on the 21st into the 22nd. So timing does matter. So out the gate, we had lack of information from law enforcement. They did provide us a video. We made an assessment of the video. We overanalyzed the video. And then we found out that these people were there. I'm so glad. And I told you guys this. I even said that live here on this channel, that I pray to God that that was not a woman driving that car, that was a guy with long hair. I remember saying that over, I think, at least 2 or 3 times ever since we realized the person in that car had long hair. I saw long hair. I saw a ponytail. And no, I did not see a hoodie over that person's head. I saw clear hair. And when we saw him walk out, our pretty little boy, when we saw our pretty little boy walk out of jail handcuffed, we knew that pretty little boy was that pretty little girl that we saw driving that car. Now, if you guys are a little offended by me calling him a pretty little girl or a pretty little boy, you're just going to have to be offended, because I like to offend people that kill babies. And if this is the only way I can offend them, this is the only way I can offend them. So get on board or get run over. Okay. I don't know what to say. It's not homophobic slurs. I'm going to do whatever the heck I want to do to embarrass and mock this piece of garbage that killed an innocent baby. And if people have a problem with it, that's your problem to have. Change the station. I don't know what to say. Bullhorn Betty's mean. Bullhorn Betty's mean.
When authorities found the bodies, they also recovered Savanah's cell phone. Police says that they used that cell phone with the help of the Secret Service to track down an address where they found both suspects, who have now been detained, Morgan.
Oh, what are the charges, Squad?
So we know that the father, Ramon Preciado, 53-year-old, is being charged with abuse of a corpse, and his son, Christopher Preciado, who's 19 years old, is being charged with capital murder. Those are the charges we have now. But because
I don't know about you, but I just move it back just a little bit. Okay, I mean, come on. You really? I don't know. If I walk past him, I wouldn't be able to tell whether I would be a gender neutral person if I was talking to this person until I hear their voice, because I gotta say, that is the prettiest boy, the prettiest 19-year-old boy with the prettiest hair I've ever seen. Again, I truly believe that kid right there, that 19-year-old boy, that pretty little boy, I believe he wanted their money. I don't recall them saying that there was money in that car. We know for a fact that car, we've seen multiple pictures of just stacks of money all over that car, in the dashboard, between the seats, everything. They had a lot of cash in that car. So I truly don't, yeah, he may have called them for drugs to drop some weed off, but I don't ever think that was his intention. I don't think that was ever his intention this entire time. I believe that he thought he could get away with this. His dad, and his dad's much older. You know, it looks like his dad slowed down life. In all fairness, let me just be as fair as I can be in my assessment, because I said some pretty mean things about Ramon, and I still stand by them. But in all fairness, the photo that we showed was a Ramon that was a much smaller, much leaner, probably much more rowdy father in his earlier years than, say, he is in this picture right here. We see a more slowed down man, a heavier set man, a man that we know owns an electrical company. Sounds like a man that may have changed his life and turned his life around. However, the demons and the evil of his past and teaching those to his children, I believe, helped this situation. Now, did this father know that his son would do this? Of course not. But his father did bring the gang into his family. His father taught his children at a very young age about gang life and gang signs. We saw it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We saw it with our own eyes. We have a picture of him flashing gang signs with his 3 sons. His company is now ruined. Yeah, he's ruined. This man is ruined. And this is again why I say when you have a situation, a lot of us can't control what our children do, how our children live their life once they're adults. Even if they live with us, our control over them is limited once they become 18. We pray and hope that our children turn out to be good, upstanding citizens and don't get in trouble and definitely don't take life, right? But when we are presented with a situation where our children have done, horrible things or have done unsavory things, even if it doesn't rise to the level of this type of case, maybe it's just a robbery or this or that. As a parent, we parent. It's called tough love. We don't want our children out there. We don't want our children to wind up the story of Matthew Guerra and Savanah Soto. That's why us as parents know the value of tough love. We know the value of making our children responsible and accountable for their decisions because it's a growth and learning lesson. If we're in the jail cell right next to our children when they do something wrong, how are we as parents going to guide and help them? This father put himself in a position where he can no longer help his son. This was this was a scary decision. And I know when something like this happens, I can't imagine if this happened at this house and this father found out about it, I'm sure the whole family was like freaking out, probably not thinking clearly, just wanting, oh my God, get these people out of here. What the F are you doing? But this could also be a situation where everybody knew this was going to happen. I don't think that that's the case in my reality. I think if that was the case, this father would have a lot heftier charges. Yeah, he's been upgraded to an additional charge, and so has his son, and there may be more charges coming. The father made poor decisions, and he's going to have to be held accountable for those poor decisions. But if his hands truly are clean and he did not have any part in the execution of these two young people and their unborn child, then, he should have a path forward. You know how I feel. I don't want people clogging up our jails when they can be productive members of society. And I have to weigh in my heart of hearts whether this father would be likely to reoffend. And while he does have a sketchy past, I have to say that his overall lifestyle up to this point seems to be like he's changed his life from the father he once was to the man he is today. I have to say that he probably slowed down. He's probably removed from the gangs. He obviously has his air conditioning business. He changed his life and provided a good, stable environment for his kids despite his past. And I don't think we can look past that. I really don't. This father made a poor decision to help his son, and we have to look at that. His father needs to be held accountable, but I don't think his father needs double digits in jail. I think that is a waste of taxpayer money. I think his father has learned a valuable lesson. He's losing his son. His son is most likely going to die because he killed other people. So I want to weigh all that because I truly believe in the law, and there is a law that we do not give sentencing that's so overbearing, more so than the crime itself. And so we have to look at that as well. I'm perfectly fine, to be honest with you, when this is all said and done, with the father, if he had truly had nothing to do with this. And again, I have to put that nuance on there because we don't know the situation, and none of the situation has been clarified with this affidavit. None of it has. We know nothing. We know nothing. They're not talking about driving patterns. They're not talking about the forensic data in this. It is so limited and so vague. I'm surprised they got the warrant for arrest, to be honest with you. But I digress. They had enough. They had enough here to get the warrant. Barely enough, in my opinion. Barely enough to get the warrant. We'll see. We'll see. So I've been going through a lot of Twitter and a lot of stuff. We did find out that there is Obviously, people, let me turn it off here. There are obviously people that are vandalizing this kid's car. I just want to, make a statement to everybody. Everybody. We don't fight crime by becoming criminals ourselves. Okay? We either believe in the law or we don't believe in the law. I understand this. I get this. I understand the community is outraged and upset, and so are many of the family members and their friends. I do not condone this. This is vandalism. This is already such an intense situation. Nobody needs to be adding insult to injury. Nobody. And identifying and putting a target on this family's back, you got to remember the person that did this crime, the two people that were seen in that video are behind bars. What you're probably doing, and whether you want to acknowledge it or not, the mom, we know there's another person in that truck and we don't know who it is, but we can all, we can assume based upon law enforcement that they must not have had a hand in it. They may have just, this had to have been a chaotic situation. And I'm not justifying, I'm just explaining and observing and providing you my observations. That's truly all I'm trying to do. But this had to be in a chaotic situation. And we know that in that car, now that we know who it is, it could have been one of three people. It could have been mom or one of the two brothers, because he's got three brothers. We know that because we saw a picture of his dad with the gang signs, and he's got three boys with him. So it was either mom or one of the brothers or all of them. It could have been a family event. I don't know. All we know is that they didn't do it. And they were trying to get this situation. I don't know why they didn't call law enforcement, why they didn't render aid, why they didn't do anything, why they tried to, I'm sorry, if I was a parent at this house and my kid just off two people, I'm calling 911. I ain't going to tell them, drag the bodies into the car and let's dump the car. I don't think like that. And it really gets under my skin that there are parents that do. I just don't think like that. I don't know a lot of parents that do think like that, but apparently they do. Apparently they do. Another post from Jennifer Coffin-Daffer here. I'm going to go ahead and throw up here, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. We're at the top of our 2 hours. I think I give you enough information to clarify some stuff. My point for this show was to let you guys know how close to the time that they were killed to the time that they were dumped was, and why I truly believe this was a premeditated robbery. Everybody keeps saying it's a drug deal. At this point, I believe this was a robbery. I believe that this kid planned before they ever even showed up to their to the driveway to drop off anything. This boy planned on robbing them and used the drugs as a way to get them, to coax them out of their house. That's what I truly believe now that we have the information. Has it been said that way? No. That's why it's my opinion, why I'm opining on the information that was provided. It's just my opinion. I don't want people going out there and spreading that as factual information. It's not factual information. It is just my perspective and what I truly believe happened. Now that we see the affidavit of arrest and look at the timing, they pulled up. They within 4 minutes from the time that they pulled up, they were leaving in that car to go dump it. Within 4 minutes. That's pretty stinking quick. Usually, think about it. Think about our argument. Actually, you know what? Let me pull this back because I'm going to say this. Think about our arguments with people. When do they escalate? When do our arguments with any other person escalate? At least a few minutes after arguing, right? We're down each other's throat. We're having a fight. We're arguing back and forth about who's right, who's wrong, everything indifferent. 5, 6, 10 minutes later, now we are through the roof, right? We're through the roof. We're hot as heck. We're raging because they're not listening, blah, 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 blah. But you still have all that argument in time. Let me tell you, they pulled up, they were whacked, they were driven away. That to me sounds like a little more than a bad deal. Because if it was a bad drug deal, they would have at least been arguing about who's right and who's wrong for minutes. At least. I could see it. I've seen arguments like this happen before. They're not like, oh, you screwed me up. Boom, boom. Oh, you didn't give, this weight's wrong. It's off by a half a gram. Boom, boom. It doesn't work like that. You argue. There was no arguing time. There was no wrestling time. There was no fighting back and forth with gun time. There was none of that. It was boom, boom. 4 minutes. Done. Driving, going there, arguing, shooting, driving away. In 10 minutes, these kids, from the time they pulled up to the time they were dumped, was less than 10 minutes. From start to finish. Pulling up, shooting, death, driving them away, dumping the car, 10 minutes. That is a problem. That is just, that seems a little more premeditated to me. I don't know. I may be wildly wrong, and maybe they did argue. Maybe all it took was 2 minutes of arguing, and the guy just lost his stuff and killed them both. I don't know. It just seems to me unreasonable. Even Brian Koberger, in his 9 minutes to kill 4 people in a house, we know, planned that attack. He planned that attack. He was at that house 12 additional times. He was scoping that house, that target property out. And within 9 minutes after planning, he was able to execute 4 people. This is 4 minutes and 3 people are dead. So anyways, Jennifer Coffindaffer says, one thing is clear after reading the affidavit. This is why I pulled it. We really don't know what happened. So even Jennifer Coffindaffer is saying this is so vague. I mean, this affidavit, I have to be honest with you, is one of the most vague affidavits I think I've had the privilege of reading. I when I read this, I'm again, my initial comments, I want to read this to you guys. My initial comments to Sweet Misery when she sent it was, golly, that wasn't helpful. Well, it cleared up a few things. They weren't abducted and he wasn't violated. It was so vague, we don't know his condition or why the family said he was tortured. It's so vague, they never mentioned Matthew's phone. I'll have to reread it. That was literally within, and Sweet Misery can tell you, that was when she sent it to me and I read it. I was within literally after I read it, in just a few minutes of me reading it, I sent that to her. So I absolutely agree with Jennifer Coffindaffer when she made this. Something is amiss. I agree with that. Jennifer agrees that something is amiss. I want to believe LE when they said that there's only 2 involved, but the towel handoff in the video ? We've all asked that. I've watched you guys ask that in the chat this morning. I know for a fact you guys are saying the same thing. I know for a fact there's a lot of people on social media right now going through this and saying the same thing, stinking thing. What about the towel? Who threw the towel? Who was the other person in that truck? We know there was somebody in that truck. There is not a shadow in our mind that there was not at least one other person in that truck. Also, how in the world did Christopher take control of Matthew so that he was able to shoot Matthew on contact in his head? No fight by Matthew? Come on. Another point. They didn't talk about defensive wounds. Not that there aren't any defensive wounds. They just never talked about any defensive wounds in this affidavit. But again, coming back to, there was no fight, which is coming back to where I said, there's an argument time. They got there, they were shot and killed, and they were dumped within 10 minutes. That's too strategic for me. Been doing this for a little while, we all have. You let me know if you really think that this was just somebody didn't weigh their weed right, or somebody had a $1 or 2 off. Savanah was in the car waiting in the passenger side and was ambushed after CP murdered Matthew, it would seem. Drag marks were only mentioned in relation to Matthew's body. Savanah wasn't dragged. Remember my assessment? What happens during a drug deal? We went through this, been around the block a time or two. What did I specifically say? How did I couch this deal going down if they left willingly? We did the example of them leaving willingly. I said, what happens? When you pull up, women don't get out of the car. The men get out, they go do the thing inside the house, outside of the house, they do it away. They don't typically do it inside the car. Most likely, she was sitting in the passenger seat waiting for him to come. He was shot outside of the car, moved into the car. So we got that. I had a funny feeling Savanah wasn't placed in that car. Exactly, Allie. That's what I'm trying to say. Something more. It was a robbery. It was a planned robbery. It was a planned robbery and planned execution. It says we only have Christopher's word that this was a marijuana deal. I want you guys to listen to that. At this point, we only have Chris's word that this was a marijuana deal. It's almost like Candace Bly telling us that Summer Wells went inside the house and went to play in her bedroom. The person that we believe did something to her is the one giving us the story about what happened to her that day. Convenient to say all the money and drugs were likely hidden or otherwise disposed of, so we really don't know the details of what happened. How much drugs? How much money? I believe this was a robbery. I don't think this was a drug deal gone bad. Christopher can't be believed. The math ain't adding up. No, it's not. And I think that's it. I think that's all I got here. Okay, well, one more video, and then I'm done. One more video, and then I'm done. And then we're opening up the phone lines. One more video. I think we might have already seen this one, to be honest with you. I don't know. But it's the one left on my my screen, so I'm gonna play it.
New charges tonight for the father and son arrested last night for the deaths of a pregnant woman and her boyfriend. The new charges are in addition to the original charges we first told you about on KENS5.com. KENS 5 reporter Zach Briggs joins us live with the details. Zach?
Well, police allege Christopher Preciado pulled the trigger with the intent to kill Soto and Guerra, and now both father and son are locked up here at Bexar County Jail. Now, as earlier today, the Preciados face additional charges. Initially charged with capital murder, Christopher now faces charges of abuse of a corpse and alter, destroy, conceal of a corpse. As for his father, 53-year-old Ramon Preciado,
those were the new
he's charged
charges
with abuse of corpse and just added this afternoon, alter, destroy, conceal of a corpse as well. Arresting documents indicate police were able to use Soto's cell phone in that surveillance video released last week to pinpoint where the suspects live, just blocks away from the crime scene. Detectives say Ramon answered the door, saying he knew why they were there. Christopher and Ramon were interrogated off-site. According to the arrest affidavit, Ramon admitted to being the person leaving the truck in the surveillance video. Interacting with his son, who was in the victim's Kia.
He was
the father, we know, opened that door. We know the father saw those two bodies. And we know the father did try to help his son conceal what his son did. He deserves to be held accountable for those actions, those unlawful, illegal actions. Now, granted, he did not do this for his son, but he tried to help his son avoid responsibility and accountability for this heinous crime. I personally don't know for myself if I can sleep with a child that I know has murdered somebody. I don't know if I can have that person in my home for my own personal safety. I don't know how these parents don't think the same way. Like, that scares me. As a human being, and even as a parent, I would want to make sure that my child gets the help they need, because normal people don't act this way. They just don't.
Not there during the commission of the murders. He was there kind of, I guess he was called afterwards to help dispose or help his son.
Now, it is still unclear where exactly the killings of Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra took place, but we do know from the DA's office.
And that is true. We only assume that he killed them at his house. I want to make sure that we are very ultra clear on that. That may change too. We may find out that this was not carried out at his home. It may have been carried out down the road or at a park or in a reserve type of area that wasn't common, that the father didn't see, and his son just happened to call him. We don't know. But this reporter is right. We are making an assumption that they were killed there ourselves. And we probably need to, look at that, because we have no information at this moment that they were killed at his home. We're assuming that because of the information in the affidavit. And it's an assumption, okay? It's an assumption. It's not fact yet. It might be, but not yet.
Is that Christopher Preciado could face an additional count of capital murder, according to Texas law, for the death of the unborn child. I'm Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
I have to be honest with you, hearing that they are going to charge, or they will potentially. I'm going to tell you, and I mean this with all sincerity, if that child is not added as a victim in this crime, I will be out front protesting. If I have to do it alone, I will. I will be there. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That child deserves to be on that indictment. Baby Fabian, he should be here. This monster took him from the world before he even got an opportunity to take his first breath. Sorry. That child, and I know this because I've talked, and if you don't believe me, do your own research, call your doctor. If you have kids, call your doctor and ask them. I'm not going to explain it here on this show, what happens to a child inside a womb when their mother dies. The only person that suffered, and let me be very clear on that, the only person that actually suffered a horrible and gruesome death was that unborn baby. That baby didn't get a quick way out. That baby deserves to be on that indictment. That baby deserves to be on that indictment. I'm sorry. That baby deserves it. And I don't know how to say it other than that. Thank you, Speculation Station, for being the newest member of the Coffee Club. So let me go ahead and move this over. Let me get my screen up. I'm going to open up the phone lines for anybody that would like to call in. Get it open. It is officially open, yay. Right, open sesame, open sesame. Okay, so there's our number. It's 724-249-6140. I'm going to leave the phone lines open as we kind of do our conclusion for today. So we've had an opportunity to kind of be updated on the Maya case. We did not cover it too much here on the Bullhorn Betty channel, but we learned about it. We have heard about it. We did know the main details of the case, where this young girl was taken to a doctor. She had a lot of medical issues. And this particular outfit assumed that she was being abused by her mother and that her mother had Munchausen by proxy. And despite multiple professionals calling those doctors and telling them they've got it wrong, they kept moving forward and removed the parents from having contact with their very sick child that they were concerned about, levying charges against those parents for abuse, and plastering it all for the world to see, so much so that her mother ended up taking her life. She couldn't handle any more. She couldn't handle anymore. A well, healthy, adjusted woman brought to her knees and taken out of her mother's life for forever. Oh, thank you. God bless you. Yes. And if you guys don't know about Sweet Misery, go over to her channel, check it out. We just did Turtle Boy, and I know she does a lot of great cases and great case work. So if you guys would like to get some updated information, and she likes taking the underdog cases as well. So you get a lot of good wholesome review of some of these crime cases. So get over to Sweet Misery's channel and don't forget to plug her, subscribe to her, and join her for her commentary. Thank you. And God bless you for your love and support of this channel, right? Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I just, and then of course with the Maya case, she offed herself, but it didn't stop the hospital from treating her like a guinea pig. She couldn't walk, and they were forcing her out of the bed to the point where she fell multiple times on the floor, just full weight and everything. They abused. The only people that abused this child was that hospital. And after her, this girl went through, I can't even imagine the loss of your mother, being locked in a hospital, not being able to see any of your family, your friends, nothing. They abused this child in every way you could imagine. The hospital did, all the while saying that parents were doing it because they were smarter than everybody else. They wouldn't stop just to listen. And then they got sued. It appears that they lost their suit, and they went to the appellate court, and the appellate court said, tough titty. Tough titty. You don't get a new trial. You haven't proved anything. And then we went over to the Crystal Rogers case, which we were more involved in. I haven't made a tour out there to get any information yet. But that case is another wild case. We went into it. We went all the way through it. We're trying to find the connection between Jason Ellis. I personally don't believe there is a Jason Ellis connection with the Houck and Ballard, or Houck Rogers Ballard case. I think it's separate, all of its own. I think that this is a situation where the Rogers case had a lot of publicity to it, and they were able to get light on Jason Ellis's case, and that's what they did. They, it's a small community, lots of deaths. They put them together, and I think it kind of, misdirected a lot of people for a long time. I truly, I spent hours and hours on the Crystal Rogers connection. This is Betty.
Hello?
This is Betty.
Hey, I didn't hear you.
Oh, this is Sweet Misery.
Misery.
I can tell your voice now.
I'm still sleeping. I know you know my sleepy voice. I wanted to tell you, Lori Vallo's trial is not going to be in April of this year. Prosecution's waiting for more time because they're going to have the same witnesses in both trials for hers and Chad's, so they can't have them at the same time anyway. And they would. Chad's is 4-1, and hers would have been 4-4. So it's not going to be in April. So I wanted to let you know, so you can still come for real.
Yeah. We have any ideas when it's going to be rescheduled, or?
No, she goes to court this month.
Goes to court this month.
But I'll let you know. But yeah, it's not going to be.
Yeah, because I want to be there, because I want to go to the places anyways, and get some footage. But I want to do it when I can go to the court and see some of the people in their habitat. So
yeah, I'm definitely going for sure. I'm only 2 hours away,
well,
and I
keep
can
me
stay
posted.
at
I won't be able to get this trip for this hearing, but it sounds like it's not going to go forward to April, and they're probably going to have a lot of hearings between now and April. So maybe one of the other hearings, maybe in February or March, might be more doable.
I'm not going to this one. I'm definitely going to the trial. I don't know about if I do, it might be I don't think they'll have pre-trial because she was indicted. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're not going to have a pre-trial conference, but they will have.
I'm definitely going
other
to the
pre-trial
trial.
motion hearings, motions in limine, motions to suppress. They have a litany of other motions that they need to, get answers on before they make it to trial.
And I have one more question. What does primary jury trial mean? Is that the regular jury trial? I've never heard it say primary.
I think it's just way different states lawfully refer to the process. What was it called? Say it to me again. I'll look it up and see if if there's a difference. Primary
jury trial.
I think it's just types of jury trials. Let's see what it says here. Petite jury trial, grand jury. No, that's definitely not what I'm looking for. Primary jury trial. Everything here that I'm reading is just says jury trial, so it just may be how they couch it. Yeah, being as opposed to litigation on other matters. I think it's basically saying it's the primary, it's the murder. I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Okay, I was wondering it's Chad Dorman or Adam Fravel, one of them. I think it is. It said it's Ohio or Minnesota. I think it was said primary, and I'm like, what does that? I mean, I'm sure it's jury trial, but the appeal of the secondary, like I wasn't understanding.
It might be. It's got to do something with that court system and the way that they defined the trials.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna let you go talk about your other cases. I just wanted to call in just to make y'all hear me
That's so
talk.
sweet. Well, thank you, sweet misery.
See you in the chat. Bye.
All right. God bless. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Yeah, don't forget to go over to Sweet Misery. And thank you, Southern Grammy Wolf. By the way, good morning, love. You got to tell me how everything is going. You're going to have to call in here when we're not talking, when we're just having a chit chat, and tell me how life's going. Like, we're so excited for you. We know that you're getting a new workspace. We want to know how that workspace is looking. You know, we haven't forgot. We just been busy. Yes, and justice for baby Q too. So many babies. You know, this is really why we do this work, because it's very it's hard. It's just hard. You know, we kind of put a spotlight on the ugly of our society, and we advocate for it. And in many cases, we go out there and search for the people. I know we haven't done a lot of searches. I mean, we've really only done Layla Santinello and Holland Snap searches. And we really didn't put a lot of effort into Holland Snap because we just didn't have as much information to go on with her. Nobody really knew anything. Like, the family she was staying with didn't even know the boyfriend she was dating. It's just sad. I do pray that she's found safely. We did get some promising information out there, but it doesn't mean that it means anything. It's just promising information that we pray to God hopefully pans out. But there were multiple people that described seeing her. However, her family reminded us that she is so short. There is people that look like her that are significantly taller than her. And that was the one thing that we forgot to ask, which caused a lot more confusion. You know, was it her? Was it not her? We don't know. I do want to plan another trip out there to look. Obviously, well, it's still pretty cold and wet. It's not conducive. I need people outside of their home because I do a lot of walking and talking as well as searching. And I don't do a lot of door knocking. So I don't go into communities and start knocking people's doors. You know, if they're outside, if they're working, I walk up to them and talk to them. But I don't typically go to homes. I don't go inside strangers' homes, you know, to ask questions. Occasionally I will. I walked and knocked for Michael Monkey Vaughn. I sure did. I knocked neighbors' doors, walked up to neighbors' doors, rang the doorbells and everything, because there just wasn't nobody outside. There wasn't a lot of people outside of their homes. And if we were going to get any answers, we were going to have to knock and, walk and knock. And with that particular case, it was so far away and so expensive to get there. You have to weigh that. If you're not getting the results you need, you gotta get the results you need. I mean, you're out there to do a job. It's costing you thousands of dollars to be out there. You need to get answers. I believe we did get answers. Brandy was going through pure hell from people, and whether people like it or not, we were able to go out there and get information. I found the person that saw Brandy out there frantically searching for her son at the splash pad. The lady tells me that she thought she was looking for a dog, and even it described, like, I was looking and saying, dang, she's really looking for that dog. She must really love this dog, not knowing that she was looking for her child. So we know how frantic Brandy was when those men, and you wouldn't know it with some of the people's commentary on it. And I was getting to the point where I was looking, like I had put Brandy on this pedestal because I was looking at Summer Wells' case and her case. And, the parents of Summer Wells were just, they weren't searching. They weren't doing nothing. They were sitting on their butts, drinking and using drugs, doing absolutely nothing to look for their child. And then meanwhile, you have Brandy on this side doing all these things, getting rallies together, raising funds, putting up flyers, putting up posters, rallying the troops to go out and get her son. She was not sitting on her hands at home doing nothing or using drugs and using substances. She was out there actually looking. So I put her up on this pedestal when comparing her to Summer Wells' case. And then, of course, people started infiltrating, you started getting, swayed by information, wondering, could they be the people? Could they have done something with their child? And before, because I had already been talking so highly of Brandy, before I went down that road, I started feeling myself getting there, asking the questions. Do you think that Tyler had something to do with it? Asking these questions, tell me about his behaviors, starting to really look at this family as possible persons of interest in this case, even though J.D. Huff, Chief Huff, told us and stood next to these parents, by the way, which I don't think J.D. Huff would have done that. Just like, it's despite how we feel about Lawson over in Hawkins County, he never stood next to the Wells ever at a press conference. Ever. And we have J.D. Huff standing next to these parents telling us, look, it's not them. And even then, I was still almost, and this is after almost over a year of me putting Brandy on a pedestal, starting to look at her and saying, could she have done this? And I felt horrible thinking that, so much so that I collaborated with Dolly to go out and find answers. And I got to tell you, Brandy had nothing to do with it. And I told people that. I screamed it from the rooftops. That lady was terrified to meet me because of everything that she heard about me, which obviously was not true, as we're all learning. She was terrified to meet with me because of what people said to her about me. But you know what? Even in her terror and her fear of me just, I don't even know what she thought of me. I gotta be honest with you. But what I'm trying to say is that she still met with me. She still wanted to get her son's name and face out there. She didn't go hide like a coward. She didn't run me around like a chicken with my head cut off, and she even handed me a stack of flyers to help post. That's a mother looking for a child. A mother looking for a child. So when we hear these cases where parents don't go out looking for their child, don't have anything to do with their child, we know there's something going on. But either way, I digress on that matter. We're already past our time. We've already spoke to some people that wanted to call in. So guys, I want you to have an amazing Friday. Pray for all of our victims. Pray for the past victims, the current victims, and unfortunately, the future victims, because they will be covered. It's sad that we have this side of our humanity, but you know what? The silver lining is we have this side of humanity that wants to put these bad guys away, that work tirelessly to help families and to make sure that these cases are advocated for. Does everybody get the information right all the time? No, nobody does. In a perfect world, maybe that would happen, but we've never, ever lived in a perfect world. There will be mistakes had, information that's just inaccurate. Some, and at the end of the day, we have to look at the intent. Is the intent to mislead, or is the intent to inform? Just got the information wrong. And I think that once you get that, you'll be able to find out. But always remember, when you're on social media, even with mainstream media, it's always best practices to do your own research and look at the truth of the case for yourself, not by influence of other people, even myself. I may say something, you might read it. Think about it like this. Even my friend, I call him my friend because I spent so many weeks out, Brian Enton, when he was covering Gabby Petito, we kind of had we all had a bond out there. We were all dealing in, with same boat. Nobody really knew any of us. And we were all out there. He. Where was I going with this? I know I was going to make a point because. And oh, I remember it's the perspective angle. And so he was out at Spread Creek and he was sitting there where Gabby Petito, where her remains were found. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's about 1,000, yards or 1,000 feet from where they spotted the truck. And, it's a little distant. But until you got there and you realized it's a lot further than you might think. And you have to cross several different streams to get there. It was a whole different perspective. And even him in his great explanation of things, the perspective he painted in my mind and in what I saw in real life were totally different. And I trust Brian's analysis of situations. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, it's perspective. It's how it's viewed. So even if I could read something right here, right now, and review it as something like, for example, somebody put an explanation into the chat the other day where they were trying to explain how Matthew got in the back seat. And I read it wrong here on the live. Like, I'm like, yeah, well, maybe he did get out and maybe they did drag him in from the outside. But when I went back and reread the actual statement, she was actually picking from the back seat into. And I thought they were talking about. Well, good morning. It's me too. How are you doing, love?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. So you got a lot of stuff right now that we have. I mean, the affidavit was vague. There might be a lot more, but so far you're right. They weren't abducted from their home.
No, I never believed that. It was too risky. Plus, he had cameras outside, from what his brother's saying. But yeah, crazy case. I don't believe. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be held against him what he's claimed to happen because the evidence is just not there.
Right.
So that's a good thing. It's going to work against them, And it did. This thing, like I told you, remember I always said this thing went down so fast.
Yeah.
I could see just by when that truck pulled up, the way everything happened. Just went down quick, and I think all that flashing of the money is what did him in. I really do.
Well, there was no. I didn't hear, but you know what? This affidavit's so vague. They didn't explain whether there was money in the car, whether they believed money was in the car. Nothing. They just didn't. They didn't answer any of the major questions we had. This was like I loved Brian I feel spoiled by the Brian Koberger probable cause affidavit, and then when you read it next to this one, it's just like, what is this?
Right. Yeah, I was surprised because they kind of gave out, information, from that when they first found the car. They gave out more than what I expected to hear, in the beginning. I think it was, they were desperate to get it out there. But yeah, I was kind of surprised, and I was left like with questions, I just don't see how. I think, did they say if I didn't? I don't know if I heard right. Did they say now there was one case? Because I heard several, but now I thought I heard one yesterday. I could be wrong.
What was your question? But, I missed you confused me. What was your actual question?
Did they say exactly how many cases? Because I heard multiple, more than one in the beginning, but I thought I heard them say
casings or cases.
Casings.
Casings were multiple. I heard that there were. I got it right here. I think I don't know how they put it, multiple casings, or if it was. But
yeah, that's what I heard in the. Yeah. So I don't know how they would get in the car, But they can track them. They can track that to a weapon. If they,
You know
even
what?
if they don't find a weapon,
Actually, I think now I might have it. You know what? A light bulb just went off off on top of my head as you were saying that. So if we have to go back. Okay, so now I know how the two casings got in the car. I know how they got it. We heard that they were shot multiple times. If Matthew was killed outside of the car and dragged in, which he has drag marks on his clothes, so it was clear that he was dragged into that back seat. And they believe that she was in the front seat. After he killed him, he probably reached in there and shot her twice. And there's where the casings came from.
Right. Why, you think she was shot more than once? I didn't hear
I heard that there. I don't know for a fact, and I want to make sure that that's expressed. But
right.
I did hear that both of them sustained multiple gunshot wounds.
Oh, really? See, I didn't hear that. But Yeah, I mean, I
The
don't know.
one
Now that
shootings that we did hear are the shots that killed them, and those were the 2
right,
contact wounds to the head. But I heard that there were that they were shot multiple times.
yeah, because
I know I'm confident. I'm confident at least one of them was shot multiple times. I don't know if they both were, or because there could be there could be some skewing in the what I heard. So but I did hear multiple wounds. So I think, and I
right,
assumed both of them, but I need to step that back and say at least one of them has multiple shots.
right. I still kind of got this feeling that they were, he was in the back seat, but now they're saying that he was killed in a different location.
Mhm.
I mean, probably might have been outside the car. I find it hard to believe that it was inside the house that he would have done it, but you never know, you
It
know.
might have been in
I
the
just don't.
garage. That might be where the garage is coming from, because every time you hear some variation of something that's misrepresented or something, it still has some truth in it. So we did hear that they thought that these people laid in the garage for several days before they moved the car. Maybe this altercation happened in the garage.
But it seems that they have cameras showing, and they seem pretty, you know, that their car was there for 3 to 4 days
Oh no, I'm
when
not
it was
saying
there.
that. No, no, no. What I'm saying is the rumor was they were on the
Oh,
floor of the
oh,
garage, and that maybe
yeah,
that there's the actual truth was the incident happened in the garage versus them being on the floor for several days. That there is some truth to the misrepresented information. So I'm not saying they laid on the floor for days. I'm
right.
saying that there's a garage that
Oh.
involved. Maybe they just were just shot in the garage instead.
The thing that gets me, if it was a contact wound, I mean, he had to be behind him. I mean, I don't think Matthew would have been an easy person to take down. He was very street smart, and he had multiple shootings, you know, already against him. He had been shot at before, so he was, you know, well aware of the danger. And I just don't see how he would have got him in that position. But you never know. I mean, things happen, you
Well,
know.
we're
I
assuming
just find that odd.
that they were shot with his gun, and they very well may be. That would be really sad if Matthew and Savannah were shot with Matthew's gun. Um,
Yeah.
but with it being so quickly, 4 minutes, I mean, less than 10 minutes from execution to dump, um, it it almost implies that he was prepared and probably already had his own weapon.
Yeah, I agree with that, you know. And I'm sure he knew that, you know, Matthew was always carrying, because that was well known. And you know, he made sure that was known because he always posted it.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a dangerous thing to do to be posting that. I mean, bad enough to be posting,
Well, if you're posting the drugs,
the drugs, but
you want people to know that you're highly protected, so it's a prevention of this
yeah,
right here. But as you said, you know, it brought more attention to him, and what he was using to prevent this might be what actually caused it.
right. Just the flashing of all that money, you know, people just get like, you know, jealous, and like, you know,
They want
you're
the
gonna do
easy way
that, then
out. They want the easy money. They want it easy, easy, easy. Nobody wants to work for a damn thing anymore.
yeah. Do you think they'll find the weapon or money or drugs
They're gonna
that
work.
was?
They're gonna work this boy. He's already admitted doing it. Now they're gonna get down. He probably already admitted what gun he used and how he used it. They just didn't put in the affidavit because I got to think that they have a lot more information than they know. And if this kid is cooperating and is finally admitted to it, then they're probably it's gonna if they don't already know the location of which gun it is,
Right.
they will really soon.
And I'm wondering if the father helped him with that. That might be another charge too. If he helped him
Mhm.
get rid of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But
I think the
they
father,
did
he
do a
seemed,
search they did do a search warrant of his house when they took both the father and the son down to question them. So it's possible
yeah,
that they've got the gun in their possession. They just haven't let the public know.
you haven't said, yeah. Um, yeah, I believe he had had a lot of help with stuff.
Mhm.
But then I was always telling you from the beginning. I said so many people knew. I mean, if it was one of us, like, you know me, I know you. If I would have seen you in that truck, I would have been like, hey, that's Betty. That's what
Yeah.
she drives. You know, him having business, they knew it. They knew that guy. Well, I heard it was the brother's truck. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. It was one of the brothers' trucks. I believe more than the mother. I would think one of the brothers would have been in that truck than the mother, but I don't. That's just my opinion, but you
Mhm.
never know with families. But I just wanted to also address a lot of people I see in the chat all the time always asking about baby Q. And you know that I've been talking to you so much, and I keep forgetting to tell you that they canceled the trial date, and I hope to God it's not.
Yes, it was Time Traveler, I think it was, that sent me the updated uh the cancellation and the fact that they were pushing it to a 2025 hearing for her, I think.
Yeah, she has. I don't know if I sent you the dates, but I have the screenshot.
Mhm.
She's got like 4 or 5
Yeah.
hearings coming. I think the first one's coming up in March, which I'll be there. But I don't like how they vacated that date. You know what I mean? Something's going on. I hope there's no plea deals being tried to be made in this
Well,
case.
if there is, we've got to let what happened to this child is horrific. As long as the
Yeah.
plea deal is, life or close to it, which I consider life
Right.
25
Yeah, I
years,
agree. I
life
agree on
life
that.
or close to life or life without parole. I'm fine with any plea deal like that. If we're working on a plea deal for 10 or 15 years, yeah, I'm
Exactly.
gonna probably kick up a storm.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
have to figure out, what we do at that point. But she abused I want to make sure everybody understands that she abused this child. She abused her children, but she specifically targeted this child specifically. And I
Yeah.
don't think the audience really understands that and understands why I'm so angry when it comes to this case, is because that little boy, he was abused badly.
He was abused, I believe, neglected, to the part
Everything.
that she had no love for that child, and she
No love.
admitted it.
No
No
love.
love.
And we kept trying to
And
find out why, and I will tell you now, this is just my opinion. I have a little evidence to support it, but not the slam dunk evidence. But I believe Billy Joe slept with Bubba while
mhm.
Leilani was pregnant. And
I'm
I
telling
think
you, I
she
was at
found
that
out about
court
it, and
hearing.
and after that, she didn't want the child. She didn't want Bubba. She didn't want something. It was something like that.
I'm telling you, I was at that court. You know what I told you about me being there that day,
Mhm.
without saying too much. But I heard a lot. You hear a lot when you're behind the scenes. People
Mhm.
don't realize that. And I heard a lot of conversations from the mother, and then when she went and tested, she was like she was gonna have a nervous breakdown. She is very, very, very worried what's gonna come out in them books, and I believe that's what's in there.
Yeah, I
I
do
I
too.
truly do, in my opinion.
Because there's
You
a
know.
reason why, and it was Billy Joe's own mouth that kind of linked that block together. Because Bubba Moss, when he was talking to her, ended up posting some posts that she had said to him after his son was killed, and he posted those, and then she writes him this nasty gram talking about almost implying in those emails to him that were released that they had something and he needs to watch himself before she lets it be known, or something to that
Well,
effect.
people don't know is we heard that from way in the beginning, behind the
Yes.
scenes. It was told to us. Yeah.
Yes.
People don't realize what the people that will come up to you and say things.
That's
I've
why I
seen
always
how many
like being
people that I
boots on
see
the
go up to
ground.
you. Yeah, I couldn't count how many people I've seen go up to you at Clinton's house and pull you aside. You and Dolly.
Mhm.
It's just like it amazed me because I've never been behind the scenes on anything. So it's very I was very fortunate to be able to spend time with you and witness it.
Yeah. Well,
And
but you do now understand why we don't move around a lot. We stay in a fixed place that's a public
yeah,
location, because when people know we're there, and we're there during this time to this time, they will come up. They don't want to be on screen, but they want to tell us their story. And this is where we get a lot of behind the scenes information the media is not privy to. Why? Because they don't sit their butts out there all day long for a week at a time, listening to the neighbors, listening to the people out there, listening to their stories. We were the ones that broke the story of Billy Joe leaving Quentin in a buggy with a stranger while she was
yes,
like she was high, and searching for money and trying to get money. It was a lady that pulled up to that place and told us that story. We broke that. Nobody knew that Billy
No.
Joe did that.
And it wasn't just neighbors. People were coming with their cars, driving with their cars to me, and they would just come up and say, "Oh, can I talk to you?" And
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want to be on camera. But yeah, I mean, I witnessed it. I couldn't tell you how many did that. There was a lot.
A lot.
And not only that, I was also witness when the brothers came up. So that is true. The brothers did go up to Betty and talk to Betty off camera.
Yeah.
Because when I was just showing up and I had my camera on, like, "Oh, you don't have your camera on." I did. I'm like, "Okay, I'll shut it off." You know, but they did. They did talk to you too.
Yeah,
But
we
people
talked to a
people
lot
don't
of
see
people.
that.
And can you tell them, did I attack them? Did I scream at them? Did I get in their face and
No.
yell and want to jump all over them like these animals on YouTube would say I do with these people?
No, absolutely not. You respected their request and you didn't film it. And not only that, we offered as much as we, the anger we had towards that family. We offered and we helped move that memorial back.
Yeah, we did.
Yes,
Which
we
they
did.
had us help them move our memorial
Our
further on
stuff, yeah.
their property, and then they took our memorial and put it behind a fence. They are nothing but a
Yep.
bunch of white trash thieves.
Yeah, and then stole your signs on top,
And then they sold the
But there
signs
was
on top.
there was no respect. There was no respect from that family. I don't know if people understand
That
that.
family's disgusting.
There was no respect from Billy Joe for that baby. There was no respect from any of that family.
Nobody
for that
gave a
baby.
damn. You know
There
who
was
gave a damn
nothing.
about that child? Let me just express this. The person that gave a damn,
Yep.
and Karen, if she can express, it was Diane down the road
Yep.
and the people out there that were protesting. Those are the
Exactly.
people that cared for that baby.
Yeah, she did. Her daughters too. I was at the candlelight vigil, and them daughters were just torn up. When we had that we had the candlelight vigil planned, and that was the day that he was found. It was just crazy that it worked out that way. But yeah, that's where that baby received love, and that's where that baby ran to when he got out of the house. Right to the
Ran
baby
right over to his babysitter.
as little as he was,
loved
20 months
her.
old.
He loved her so
Yep.
much.
Yep. And she even told us that when, Billy Joe would pick him no, when Danny would pick him up, Quentin would be happy. When the mother would pick him up, he didn't want to go. He feared her.
Mm-hmm.
It was just tragic. But yeah, I believe I want to say it's in March. There's a hearing coming up, so I'll be there for that and see what's.
Well, it's
what's
only
going
it's
on
only a
with that.
6-hour drive for me, so if I'm not doing anything, I'll meet you up there. I'll just get up
Yeah,
and leave at like 2 o'clock.
Great.
I'll just get up and leave when I wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. 6 hours is nothing for you.
It's nothing.
I mean, how many times have you gone there and got in the car after him and headed right back? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long day. But I'll just address something quick as a bullying thing, because this is a subject that gets me. I mean, I was never bullied. I've never experienced it, but I believe a lot of these school things that's what it comes down to. If you see most of the cases,
Mm-hmm.
they were bullied somehow, And I think the schools need to be accountable, and the parents. There should be some kind of meeting at the beginning of the school year, and it needs to start when these kids are young and teach them what bullying is, Even if they have to sign a contract with the parents saying, if something happens, you're going to be responsible for your child,
I get that, but look at the parent. I mean, we're here on YouTube. We see the people's parents. We see these kids' parents and how they act. I mean,
Yep.
does it really surprise us?
No. And it just, you don't know what these kids are dealing with at home to begin with. Then they go to school and they get bullied on top of it. And a lot of them are bullied with special needs, and it's tragic, If you don't understand what special needs is, you don't know someone that has it. That's heartbreaking, all by itself. And to have the kids go there, and some of the kids, they're being abused at home, so they go to school, and that's their
outlet.
Supposed to be their safe place. They're out in it, and then they get bullied on top of it. And I don't think the schools are doing enough, And
Parents,
I've always said,
I'm tired of it being the school's problem. I'm tired of everybody
I
thinking
agree.
the
It starts
schools.
with the parents.
Yeah,
Yep.
parents, you parents out there, if you're condoning this or knowing this and you don't punish your children, you know what I'm going to tell you guys to do? Take their damn cell phone away. Take their allowance away. If you're not willing to step up to the plate and parent your children and tell them to quit bullying people in their school, if they're doing it, we need to teach people to be to stand up to bullies. So when they see the bullies, they can stand up and be the protector of the person being bullied. We need to give people, young people, their mouth and allow them to
Right.
stand up and advocate, for these causes. We got good kids out there that get bullied too, that try to stand up to this bullying. We need to stop it.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And the sad part is most of the kids that are unalived are not even the ones that were bullying. They're usually the ones that were always trying to help. And a lot of people don't understand, a lot of these kids that are bullied, some of them, act out in violence and others will take their life. You know what I mean? And it's tragic. I've seen cases where parents have switched schools like 2-3 times because once they remove from the school, they go on the cyberbullying, and the kids can't escape it.
Yeah.
And it's just tragic, and I've said for
We need to do
years,
more.
I mean,
We need to do more in
I
this
said-
country. We need to have the internet police. We do.
I believe,
It's
I believe
criminal
parents
stuff.
should,
People that are doing stuff online here, they're doing criminal
Mhm.
activity, and there's nobody arresting them and nobody holding them accountable. And we need the internet police.
exactly. And I always said for many years now is, I believe that schools should have cameras and parents should have access to see what's going on while their kids are in them classrooms. I really do.
Yeah, and the internet is one of the biggest corporate. I don't even know what to say. Corporate entities that we have in the world right now. Everybody uses it. This is
Yeah.
something that needs to be protected. It's so like we protect our rights in each and every one of our countries that we live in, but as soon as we get on the internet, we lose all of our rights, and that has got to come to an
Exactly.
end.
Yeah, it's just tragic, and this social media, it doesn't help. The game, the violence of videos. I mean,
It's
it's
all
just
it's
these
all
kids are
part of
brought
it.
up with violence. So
It's
by
all
the
part of
time
it.
they're a certain age, violence is like doesn't mean anything to them. There's no respect anymore.
They have no value for human life. They are
No,
ultra desensitized. They don't. People are taught that they're disposable and they don't matter.
no, that's sad.
And if you don't like it, death to all. That's what we're
All
teaching our
right.
kids.
It's yeah, exactly. It's a lot of there's broken homes, and I mean that I applaud was the Florida one with wasn't it Florida the one that you were just talking about? What's his name? That just they held the parents accountable, and I agree with that. I mean that kid was reaching out for help. The parents weren't giving it to him. They let him have access to the weapons.
Oh, that's the Crumbly
and
case, Ethan Crumbly.
Crumbly, yeah,
That's
I
the one I was
agree
just
with that.
talking. Yeah.
I totally agree. With a lot of people against the parents. No, I agree. I mean, I think if parents are held more accountable, maybe they'll pay more attention to their kids. A lot of these parents, and believe me, there's plenty of good ones out there, and we have plenty of good ones in the chat. I mean, I applaud Jen. I mean, for how she is with her child, but I'm the same with my grandson. I'm the same with my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that you have to protect your kids to the way that you have to and that kid was reaching out for help and didn't get it. I believe the sentence he got is right. I mean, he shouldn't get out. But I applaud them for taking charges against them parents. I think it was the first case like that, if I'm not wrong.
From my perspective, it was, but it seems like this is so egregious because it seemed like the mom didn't. It's almost like the mom didn't believe her son was spiraling out of control and was just trying to find some constructive ways. But the constructive ways she chose were lethal ways. She wasn't thinking clearly. Like you take your child to an art class or writing or, volunteering for dogs that, or walking dogs or something to help them, get some handing an emotionally charged teenager with a gun is.
I'm sorry, my grandson's on the side and talking.
But it just
But
it's
no,
equally irresponsible.
Yeah, it is. But I'm glad they did that. I really am. And I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to mention, but I will. I've heard somebody was in. I don't know what I seen. It was on somebody's chat that I don't even like to say his name. The one that live Matthew and the poor baby in Savannah.
The
He was
pretty
in a
little
Facebook
girl
group.
or the
Supposedly.
pretty little boy. We call him the pretty little boy.
Oh yeah, he ain't too pretty. They're gonna like pretty in prison, so that's a good thing.
He's
But I heard he
pretty.
was
I don't
in
know what
one of
to
the
say. He's a pretty boy. I
He
love
was in
his
one of the
hair. I
Facebook-
love his hair. I mean, I'll trade him.
Oh, it's got beautiful hair. I'd take that here any day. But I heard he was in one of the Facebook groups, I don't know. I guess that could probably be proven. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and
I
see
know
on
there
that
was
one.
some.
But
There were some family members that had. Well, I shouldn't say we're assuming that they're family members, but there were some people with his last name from Mexico that
oh,
were
really?
inside that Savanah Soto discussion chat. Yes.
Yeah, we had discussed it. We knew that.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were watching that news every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the father's going to talk. I mean, if you watched him coming out and just addressing the reporters, they don't. You know, you don't see that too often. Now you do when it's like a deranged person. They, you know, but this guy looks like he's gonna fold pretty easily. You know, hopefully they give.
I think
they
he
give
already
more
has. I
information.
think he gave
Yeah,
law
he has.
enforcement everything. You know, again, it comes down to, I absolutely applaud law enforcement for arresting the father because I think it's far overdue. There's so many parents that want to help their children in a situation like this, and until you start throwing the parents in jail, they're going to continue to help their children. So I applaud what they're doing to this father. I hope they give him an appropriate sentence, not a ridiculous, sentence.
Right, I agree with that. But I
You
mean,
know,
he
I-
needs to get.
But
some,
they've got to
you know,
start.
some-
They've got to start prosecuting these parents. Like I truly believe that Brian Laundrie's parents should have been brought up on charges without a
Yep.
freaking doubt.
I
Without a doubt.
agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
But
So
we'll have to wait and see what's going to go on. But I hope we get some more information. So I'm wondering if they're going to release the. They don't usually release autopsy reports, do they, before the trials?
Oh yeah,
Or
they'll
do
they'll
they?
release the
They do,
autopsy.
right?
They've already released the cause of death. Well, in certain states, like in Florida, we get like toxicology if there's toxicology and stuff like that.
Right.
Other
That's what I
states
thought.
have
Yeah,
different
that's true.
regulations on what they are required to release in a situation like this. So they've released what
Yeah.
they're supposed to.
All right. Well, I know that you had May in the chat that wanted to come up and say. We've been trying to invite her up. See if she's going to come up.
Some people are just shy, they're just shy.
Yeah.
They don't, once they call in and have a conversation, their shyness goes away because it's like, oh my gosh, that was fun.
Well, May, we're waiting on you.
There you go. There you go.
All right, love. Take care. I'll be in touch.
Bye-bye.
All right.
So that was good. That was good information. Good discussion. Again, with this situation, this is a horrible situation. We talk about parents helping their kids all the time. This is one, and I always say, I'm angry with law enforcement because it seems like they always give the parents a free pass. Like, oh, well, they did it for, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of hearing that excuse. And I'm glad that they're doing something. This father should not have helped them. And this father had every opportunity to call the law enforcement and come clean. And he chose not to. He chose to make law enforcement do the work. Track them down. When are we going to start doing the right thing? Not because it's the easy thing to do, but because it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is not the easiest thing to do. We need to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. It's I don't know. It's like beating. I pray to God nobody that's watching this in my chat or otherwise ever has to deal with this. I pray to God you don't. But, if you ever do, it's not a reflection of you. Just do the best you can for your child. Please, please, please do not stick your neck out so much so that you jeopardize your own freedom. Please don't do that. It's not worth it. We love our children, but we can't help them in every situation. Sometimes our job as parents is a supportive role. We just need to be there for support. And sometimes that, as hard as it is all we can do. So please don't lose your jeopardy by helping your child because your child chose to make a poor and bad decision or a deadly one. Okay? So God bless you. I know it's hard. We have no real guidance, right? You got no book that says, hey, this is what you do. When we go to school, we have something to reference to. If we get jammed up, we can go pull a book from our bookshelf and read it and unstick ourselves. When it comes to parenting, it's kind of an on-the-job training. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And we all, as parents, make mistakes. All of us. All of us. I can't tell you how many times I've lost my temper a little too much, right? With my stepdaughter, or, I made a decision that we shouldn't do something. And the decision was we should have really just did it. And now we're having to deal with this because we didn't do that, right? We all have those things, it's just part of life. But what we do is we try to do it all the right way, whether we come up a little short or not. We come up a little short. We have to deal with it. It's called life, right? It's not perfect. But one thing we don't want to do is lose it or have to live it behind bars, especially next to somebody that we're trying to protect at something they did. It's not worth our life because our child decided to make a poor decision. So just sad. A poor little baby lost over something so stupid. Greed. I'm just going to say greed because the drugs is part of greed. The robbery is part of greed. It's all greed. It's greed. It's greed. It's greed. It's greed. No matter how you turn this, in my opinion, it's going to come down to greed, whatever that greed looks like, whether it's the drugs, the money, or just the notoriety of taking him out. I have no idea. I just know that it doesn't sound right. 10 minutes to execution to dump. That doesn't sound like a deal gone bad. It just doesn't. This is Betty. No. Okay, goodbye. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you guys for staying with me for, 3 hours. You guys rock it out with your coffee beans out again. For our supporters today, Speculation Station, thank you for becoming the newest member of the Coffee Club, and Sweet Misery, our beloved Sweet Misery. Don't forget to go over and sub her. Oh, somebody is calling. You're lucky. Saved by the bell. This is Betty.
Yes,
Hello?
I'm calling.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Hey.
Who is this?
This is Betty. Who's this and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Knoxville, Tennessee. It's supposed to be Betty's line.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I was talking about what happened in the car.
Uh-huh.
I believe that the boy Christopher got in the back seat and he shot both of them, and then where the detective said that they had drug him to the back seat. I believe that's when he went and got him and pulled him out of the car and drug him back and put him in the back seat, and then they reached in and shot him again.
A possibility. Yes, that would make sense. That is a great perspective.
Because if they got it at the house, as close as the houses were that they showed on a YouTube channel last night, the houses are really close together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right across the street where this person was taking a video. And if they pulled there in the driveway or anything and shot them, the people would have heard all the shots. So they had to do it away from the home. And then I believe that's when they drove him back to the house after they had shot him. He got in the driver's seat and drove him back to his house. Because it said on there last night that he was just at his house a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher's home.
Yeah, that definitely could be a possibility. But I was also thinking, when people are talking about the gunshots and stuff, this would have happened at midnight. And I keep wondering, how many people would have been up or awake, or even if they were asleep and woke up, would they have known what woke them up?
Well, if that's the case, so Betty, if they had left that early that morning, at 3 o'clock that afternoon, one of them said it was early, and then one of them said it's after lunch. That's when she left.
Mm-hmm.
How would they be driving them around all that time if they just waited to show them after midnight?
Yeah, well, they said that the car got to their. Oh, yeah, I guess there is some information missing because we don't have the information of what time they left their apartment.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Because, I mean, the mother said it's on the 22nd when she last talked. And it was on there last night. It was the 21st when they were shot after midnight on the 21st.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to have been induced on Saturday when she was being induced.
Yeah, I think she was
And
supposed to meet them there like 2 or 2:30, and she was scheduled
yeah,
to be induced at like 6 p.m. or something like that. I think is
yeah.
the timing. Yeah.
The timing, I mean, it's completely different for them to be in that parking lot all that time.
Mm-hmm.
And if that, some of them had made a remark that the back windshield was shot out. If that's the case, people would have smelt the new car.
Yeah, and they would have noticed the car with the backed out, that I think it would
Yeah.
have been called in a lot quicker if that whole windshield was backed out or blown out. I don't think
Mhm.
it was. It couldn't have been.
No. And about him being with his pants down, from pictures I've seen, seems like he's got a belt around his waist.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, because that chief said it was horrific what they done to him.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
still
hard to tell him
interested
what
in.
he's done to him. I mean,
Yeah. But I think
to
that's
make it.
right. And that would explain why his pants would have been down because you're dealing with dead weight. And if they took him out of the front seat,
Mhm.
they would have had to drag him because people don't realize that when a human being is deceased, it's they're 10 times heavier than you think.
Yeah. Well, even if you're just passed out, it's hard for somebody to try to pull on you. But he's I don't know how tall Christopher is, but he looked like he's a pretty good tall boy.
Yeah.
A lot taller than his dad.
Much taller than his daddy, about a foot taller than his daddy.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, because if you drag somebody out of the front seat and pull them down on the ground, one person doing that, as tall as Matthew was, it's going to be hard. And pulling him out and dragging him around to the back seat and pulling him up in that back seat, him being dead weight.
Somebody was on the other end of that door because even when we were talking about the moving of Matthew into that back seat, I said it seems like it would have had to take two people, one on one
Yeah.
side, grabbing him and lifting up on one side while the other person's on the other side to get him in.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's more people involved, but that's probably why the father's arrested for the stuff to the body. They probably know he helped them move it.
Yeah. And there was somebody in that truck that threw that towel over there.
And we want them to acknowledge that. I think the public needs law enforcement to acknowledge they know the third person's there and why that third person isn't being charged, because it's going to be a sticky situation for many of us, because this is a unborn child that was executed, and we want
Oh, I
anybody
know
and
it.
everybody involved to
Yeah.
to have to pay, even if it's 6 months probation. We want anybody and everybody that had a hand in this case to have to take responsibility for their hand in this case.
Well, didn't they take the Christopher's mother in and questioned her yesterday sometimes?
Yeah.
Seems like I might have heard it or I might have dreamt it.
No, we did hear that. They took everybody that was in that house because they executed a search warrant. So every single person that was most likely in that house typically go down to interrogation.
Hmm. And another question, the chief first said about the car that there was no phones in the car. And then he come around and her phone was in the car.
Yeah.
So how would they find, but they found her phone at his house or their car, didn't they?
Yeah, they
Or
did
in
find her
at his
phone
car.
inside the car that they were found deceased in. We didn't realize that. But so
Yeah.
far, we haven't heard any word on Matthew's phone. There's still a phone missing, to the best of all of our knowledge.
Unless they found it in their home.
And it's possible because, law enforcement hasn't provided us a whole lot of information about this case. So if they found the
Yeah.
murder weapon, or if they found, like the money, like maybe stolen money or stolen drugs or any of that stuff, they're not telling us.
No, they won't tell nobody. And I don't blame them either, because In one way, that's how they build their case up. If they tell everything, then they've got a jury out there that could be telling them, you know, if they had to get it to jury for them.
Right.
But I'll let you go, honey.
All right. Well, I gotta say, it was
It's
so.
Linda Lou.
Oh, Linda Lou. Well, it was so
Linda Lou.
sweet to hear your voice. We were wondering if you were gonna call in. Oh, you're so. I gotta say, you were so shy, but everybody in here says your voice is so sweet. So God bless
thank
you.
you so much.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll talk to you later, and you have a good day, baby.
You too, Linda Lou. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, but you know what? Great perspective, Linda Lou. Great perspective. I think that, you know, and we don't know all these finite details. We really all can just speculate on them. And it's unfortunate because if we speculate, we get in trouble. If we, you know, if we just stuck to the facts, we have no show, right? So we're kind of stuck in this little funky area where we want to still talk about this case. We still want to, you know, find out any information about this case, but there's really nothing new coming on about this case. So I'll keep searching. If we can find new information, I promise, I will bring it up. I don't know how long we're going to run with the Savanah Soto case. I really don't. I thought it would be, you know, we would already be on to another case by now. But every day I wake up and there's new breaking information in the case. So it's been hard to pull away because there has been relevant information going on in the case. So as soon as you know, I'll keep checking. If we have any information about this, I'm going to bring it to you guys as quickly and as immediately as possible. But we're going to start, you know, kind of looking back. We've still got Crystal Rogers case that is getting some activity on it, some court hearings and stuff like that. We need to monitor that, get updates on that. We still have Alec Murdaugh. Alec Murdaugh is going into the whole, you know, new trial with the Supreme Court. He's going to be heard before the Supreme Court. We got that going on at the end of this month. We've got, you know, still a lot of Leilani Simon, which is the mother of baby Q, Quentin Simon, that was brutally murdered by his mother and thrown away like garbage and was found out in the landfill. You know, we have that stuff's going on. So we have a lot of things. And of course, Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4. A lot of stuff is going on this year. We're going to keep everything forward. Let me go to the last phone. This is Betty.
Hey, is there an update on Miss Becky Hill?
Is there an update on her?
Yeah, like anything going on?
Yes, there is. I
I
actually missed it from this morning, but I've got it still up here in my tab. So let me get over there to it. I think it's up here. We do have something coming in on, where is it? The first one. Okay, this is Crystal Rogers. Hold on, let me just keep going. I've got it here because there was something that came up. I just didn't know if I was going to have time. I was going to do it later this afternoon. Des Moines.
Oh, sorry. You talked about Murdaugh and new trial, and I was like, oh, what about
Yeah,
this
you know, we did
situation?
touch on it. I just got to find the stuff. Hopefully I didn't delete it. Sometimes I get in here and I start deleting crap when it starts lagging my stuff down, which I probably did. What's this one? There is stuff here because I did see it and it was related to, oh, I know what it was. I know what it was now. I remember. I can't pull it up. The only statement that I got is that they're going to the court for a new trial, and it was Donald. Oh, Lord, what was the attorney's name? I bet you I still have it on my phone. Donald something. He was one of the justices, and he said that it would be too prejudicial to have Becky Hill oversee this court hearing.
You think?
Yeah. So
Wow.
what was his name? His name was, here it is. I still have it up here. His name is Donald Beatty. And he's overseeing a hearing here. Here it is. I've got it right here. It says, and this just came out, actually, this came out a while ago. That's for Toll. That's the one that's overseeing that one. Here it is from the Post and Courier. This is the one that was just released that I was reading. Yes, January 3rd. And it basically says Colton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill staff won't have a role in the upcoming hearing to decide if the convicted murderer, former Alec Murdaugh, deserves a new trial. It says in January 3rd order, South Carolina Chief Justice Donald Beatty wrote that it would be inappropriate for Hill or her staff to handle documents because Murdagh's request to have a new trial levied jury tampering allegations against her. So that's really the only information that I have new on this case. I haven't heard anything, nor have I looked into it yet. The wiretapping charge or her ethics violation, I kind of got away from it, but I'll do some research this afternoon. And if I can get some information, I'll do a live on the Murdaughs and Becky Hill, maybe later today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Well, thank you. That was a great live. Lots of participation. We were able to cover several different topics this morning. We're going to expound on some of those topics. Like I said, we're going to expound on some updates for Alec Murdaugh. We're going to expound on some updates on the Crystal Rogers case, and we're going to expound on some additional updates on the Brian Kohberger case. And I'll be looking for some additional information on previous cases. I know there's been some movement in Harmony Montgomery case. I saw Adam's face pop up in my newsfeed a few times over the last week. I just didn't have any time to dive into it. So we'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe. But be kind to everyone, guys. We have a world that's ugly, that's nasty. We say no to harassment. We say no to bullying. Bullying has caused this country and caused people within it and across this world a lot of grief. People have lost their lives. It makes you wonder what the true intent of the person is that's bullying people, right? What is their intent? If we know what the end result is that really what they're intending? Because that could be their end result. And I want to know why they continue to do it. Either way, take care. God bless. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.